Russ Clark. Russ Clark Show, and we're live. Mortgage One Studio. Phone lines open 928-3445. No, never mind. 928-941-0304. I keep reverting back uh, to where we were, our prior location. Phone lines are open. I got this weekend was nice. I think I told you I was going out to Welton. Welton had that eighth annual Tour de Fields bike ride, which they let me MC, tell them to get, ready, start, go type stuff, and talk about the event. And it was good. The weather was cool in the morning. We were fine. We took off early enough, and it got done. All the riders were back by a little after 10 o'clock. Yeah, before the big heat wave went in. But it's Welton does a nice job with it. They do. They enjoy having the riders out there, and it's there's not as many cars on the road. The roads are really nice uh, where they go. So it worked out well. They did a 10 mile, 30 mile, 60 mile, and a fun one, family fun. Somewhere in between 2 and 3 miles with kids and all that. They got out there and got their chance to play around and do it all. So we had a good time. But I tell you, I was beat this weekend. I didn't do much. I know I had all those heart procedures, which really didn't seem to slow me down much until this weekend. But I slept most of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, most of all gone. But so I should be refreshed. I should be good. I should be good today. So uh, I don't know whether I would start off. Now let me. I got up early, so I have a ton of notes. First off, what I was looking for, Air Canada. Air Canada lost 2 pilots. They died in a car. I mean, a truck and a plane collided. It was a fire truck, and I listened to the recording a little bit. It was scary. Fire trucks on an airfield. Vehicles are moving around all the time. Vehicles are in. They have to ask permission to move, just like an airplane does. They're in ground control, and you listen to the truck drivers. They called in and they wanted to cross the runway or cross a taxiway or something, and they call in and they sit there and they call in and they ask for permission. They got permission, and then somehow I don't know exactly what happened. You can't tell from recording exactly, other than the traffic controller is telling them to stop, 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 stop. I don't think the truck's listening. Then you hear him call the aircraft saying to go around, but then it was too late. He'd already slowed down enough to where go around wasn't possible, I suspect. And they collided. And I read it this morning that the aircraft, and it was a CRJ 900 out of Canada, came out of Montreal. It struck the plane struck the vehicle at 24 miles per hour. Now, 24 miles an hour in a car is going to wake you up. It most likely is not going to kill you. If you have your seatbelt on, for sure, and your airbags go off, you're not in that airplane. If you take a look at the picture of that airplane, that whole front end is crushed. They make them not for contact. They're not for contact. They're for going fast up in the air, but not contact. What a shame. But 24 miles an hour, and that's it. The two pilots died. There were 40 passengers, and many of those 30. They took them to the. They had to take them in. Let me say no. There were 72 passengers and 4 crew members. But more than 40 passengers and crew members were transported to the hospital. 32 of those passengers have been released. The others, they said pretty serious. Oh, there's some serious injuries. They didn't specify what they are. But that's unfortunate. Now they shut the airport down after that. That's in New York. I didn't mention that's in New York, LaGuardia Airport, and they forced the airport to close which I guess I'm surprised by that. Normally, if you have a bad accident on the highway, they may close it for a short period of time, but until they get everything moved and taken care of. But at approximately 11:40 p.m. on Sunday, a Jazz Aviation flight operating on behalf of Air Canada was involved in an incident on runway 4 at LaGuardia Airport. The aircraft struck a Port Authority aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle that was responding to a separate incident. Emergency response protocols were immediately activated. The Port Authority Police Department is on the scene along with the agency's chairman and executive director. The airport is currently closed to facilitate the response and allow for a thorough investigation. A spokesperson for the airport said this is a developing situation based on the preliminary information. The Port Authority Police Department is working closely with our airline partners as well as our federal authorities and will provide additional updates as more details become available. And close, of course, it means there's nothing going to come out. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is commenting on it. And I understand they also called the president, woke him up. Yeah, they woke up the president for that one. The New York Police Department confirmed the collision, but doesn't say anything else about it. The other incident, and that's the reason the fire truck was going out there. It didn't sound like it was anything serious. They were going out, but they send fire trucks. And that's not abnormal. And I know I watched a few shows where people were calling in and saying, "Well, couldn't the airplane see it? Couldn't the truck see the airplane coming? It's a big thing." And yeah, they could. I tell you, when you're landing an airplane, there's a lot of activity going on the ground. You can see the runway, and you focus on the runway. You focus on hitting the runway at the right location, the right airspeed, the right angle, all that kind of stuff. And you see things on the airport. You'll see flashy lights and all on emergency vehicles, but they never come in front of you. They may be sitting on the side of the runway, waiting for permission to cross. But it's rare that they would come in front of you. I think it's unexpected because that is controlled by the tower. You can't just cross a runway. Everybody, it doesn't matter what it is, whatever vehicle's got to cross the runway, they get clearance to do it. And this was a screw up. Something happened, and I don't know why the fire truck didn't move. I don't know if there was a problem with it, but they gave that indication that there was. I think when he called the airplane, he told him to go around. The fire truck can't move or something. I don't know if it just happened to break down or if he just couldn't reach it to tell it. I have no idea. So I don't know when they're going to get back. And of course, a lot of people are curious. Like, does this anything have to do with the TSA being closed down? I think those are legitimate questions, and I'll be looking into that. You know, people are suspecting, well, they didn't have the right people. They were tired, or they didn't have enough people. They were short-staffed. I don't know any of those cases yet. Nothing's come out about that yet. A few things we do know about the TSA is that we're continuing to shut it down. I think 400 employees have already quit their jobs. And when we think of TSA, of course, we think of air traffic control, so we think about those high end, but it's a lot more than that. I mean, there's a lot of entry-level jobs in TSA that just has to do with crowd control and those kinds of things that they're not making a lot of money. I think I heard $30,000 to $40,000, and in some of these airports in big cities, you're not going to do real well. So it's like 400 people have already left, and I would assume those at the lower echelons that haven't been doing the moving up the ladder, getting positions of authority and training and all that. But I don't know. Nothing's been released on what type of people, but my assumptions are. Well, Elon Musk came out just a couple days ago or this weekend sometime and said something that he wants to pay TSA employees that are not getting paid to make sure they can make ends meet and they can continue going to work. I don't know what's gonna become of that. I don't know if that's legal. I don't know how that works. I don't know exactly what he's got set up. I don't think he can I don't think that he can pay the government to pay them. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, the lawyers would have to get involved in that, but he probably could set up some nonprofit to subsidize them directly, but I have no indication on how he wants to do that, but I remember watching one show, I think it was Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson was in an airport when that news came out, and some of the TSA guys come over to him just with big smiles, to thank Elon Musk because they knew Benny Johnson was recording something. They came over to, it lifted spirits for sure. It showed that people cared. I was also at church this weekend, Church for the City, and Pastor Tyrone asked to collect some money to take care of the TSA workers here in Yuma that are probably suffering, probably paycheck to paycheck. Who knows? They've already missed a couple. So, and which is really great. I love to see that kind of reaching out, that kind of helping, and hopefully we get them done because it looks like it's going to be deadlocked in Congress for quite some time. There doesn't seem to be any movement that's fixing this thing yet, and it's a danger. And I know our Department of Transportation is looking at that, making sure that we're safe beyond all. In fact, they're not cutting any corners, which is good and bad. Good for safety that they're not cutting corners. Bad if you're in line because they're gonna do the same checks that they do when they're at full staff. And if they're not at full staff, that means you're gonna wait. Atlanta has reported 153 minutes in line. That's to get through security to get onto an aircraft. 153 minutes. 2 hours is 120 minutes. So yeah, 2 to 3 hours is no joke. They're really taking that. They said the lines were wrapping around baggage claim. New Orleans, 2 to 3 hours, stretched into the parking lot. Houston, 2 to 3 hours. New York, all the way down to 75 minutes. Well, 75 minutes is a long time. That they tell you they used to tell you get to the airport 2 hours early. Well, that would include everything from parking the car, checking your bags, getting in line to go through security, getting to the terminal, getting on the plane. They say 2 hours. I don't know what they're saying now. 4 to 5 hours. It's kind of. I'm glad I'm not traveling right now. That would be frustrating to stay just in the line to get checked through security for 2 to 3 hours. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I don't think we're gonna get that at Yuma, but I haven't heard over there. Uh, LaGuardia was 20 minutes. Newark was 44 minutes, which 44 minutes is a long time, but 44 minutes. Cincinnati, an hour. San Juan, nearly an hour. Now, there is a website that you can check, TSA website. Don't bother. It hasn't been updated since February 17th of this year. They shut it down because there's no TSA workers, and there's certainly the website people went home. TSA did put a note out there that you can call airlines. They can, your airline could tell you some of that stuff. But obviously, the wait times are different at different airports because the amount of TSA officers that show up is different everywhere. They said that more than 10% of TSA officers called out on more than half of the past 7 days. Well, 20% at Houston, and some are 40% are just no-shows. Trump is making comments on it. He says Democrats the greatest enemy America faces as he continues to declare victory over Iran. He says now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. highly incompetent. And Trump has said that starting today, he's going to have ICE out there. Now, ICE is the reason that the Democrats are blocking the funding for DHS because ICE is part of DHS. But ICE was fully paid for back during the big beautiful bill. The rest of DHS is not. So it's kind of a ridiculous thing. They're not really shutting ICE down, and that's they've been anti-police forever. The Democrats, not forever, but for the last 5, 6 years for sure. Do not like authority, don't like ICE, and they want ICE shut down. But they've been fully funded. So Trump on Monday is going to send ICE, and that's today, to airports, which I think is hilarious. The Democrats don't want to see ICE. They're going to see them a lot more. They're going to be at airports. Trump says they will be going to airports to help our wonderful TSA agents who have stayed on the job despite the fact that the radical left Democrats who are only focused on protecting hardline criminals who have entered our country illegal are endangering the USA by holding back the money that was long ago agreed to and signed and sealed contracts. He says, Czar Tom Homan, as the fixers of TSA chaos, needs urgently. But watch, no matter how great a job ICE does, the lunatics leading the incompetent Dems will be highly critical of their work. They will do a fantastic job. Tom Homan's talked about it a little bit, about what they're going to do and why ICE is being called. Well, ICE is being called because they're paid for, and they're part of Homeland Security, and I guess that's an easy thing to move over. Although I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits. I mean, that's just par for the course anytime. But they're going to move them over, and they're not going to have them do stuff that takes a lot of training, like air traffic control, obviously. But what it's going to do is relieve the agents to do the work, and they'll do the check-ins, check IDs. ICE is very good at checking IDs. They'll be fine. So they can do a lot of that entry-level type TSA work. The people that work for TSA initially don't start off as air traffic control. They start off somewhere else, checking luggage, checking IDs, checking something like that. But the ones that take the training to X-ray luggage and all, probably not going to have ICE do that. Well, Democrats are already slamming it. They don't care. Richard Blumenthal, Democrat of Connecticut. It's another reckless, lawless threat to misuse ICE agents. Bertie Thompson out of Mississippi, accusing Trump of manufacturing chaos at airports for political leverage. Actually, the chaos is there right now. The ICE agents are going to be able to alleviate some of it, hopefully. Sean Duffy's warned that the mess could get much worse, saying current delays may look like child's play if TSA personnel misses another paycheck. Officials have been even suggesting some airports could face deeper disruptions, possible closures, if the staffing crisis keeps intensifying. I don't know what the airlines are doing, but they've got to be the ones that are hurting. I mean, they're the ones getting the calls of complaints, the calls that I was in line. Can you hold my aircraft? They're going to be hurting financially, the airlines. It says, for now, airport travelers are urged to arrive at least 3 hours early, even for domestic departures. But for passengers staring down marathon lines, the advice is landing more like a warning than Renaissance. The shutdown is no longer just a flight in Washington. It's now a checkpoint crisis playing out in real time across airports all across America. And no hope in sight yet. Let me see. TSA has 65,000 employees, including 50,000 airport security officers. ICE has played a central role in the Trump administration's legal immigration crackdown. Now, Trump did mention that as long as ICE is there, they can screen for that. I'm sure we're not going to get a lot of illegals flying on aircraft right now. He seems to have no concept of what the limits are on ICE. And I think America would be absolute appalled to see ICE agents roaming through airports, just as they've been breaking down doors at homes. That's according to Blumenthal. I think Blumenthal's wrong. I think the majority of people are going to be very gratified to see ICE in there helping out to make sure they get through in time. Believe it or not, police type uniforms, those kinds of authoritative uniforms bring a lot of comfort to people, unless you're Richard Blumenthal or someone's in the country illegal, maybe, but they actually bring. I mean, I like to see officers' uniforms. Yep, it's just one less worry. Somebody's there taking care of stuff. You see, Homeland Security historically has shifted resources across agencies during emergency staffing. And they say that because there's already been noise that the left is going to sue President Trump, saying that you're not allowed to use ICE officers and try to take it to court. That was according to Stuart Baker, DHS policy official in President George W. Bush's administration. Keeping TSA going without paying staff creates serious trouble for the agency. ICE agents for airport security may be slower than using trained people, but it would be better than having nobody. Yeah, plus they know what they're doing when they know how to check IDs. ICE agents are going to be good with that. Well, Trump has been strong on this thing, on holding the line on the shutdown. And Trump said, hold the Republicans to hold the line on the ongoing shutdown negotiations, saying no agreement should be reached without Democrats unless they back the Save America Act. He's thrown that in there. I think a lot of people are throwing stuff into the Save America Act. The Save America Act, the Republicans in the House, I think there's a group of 50, there was the other day, 50, maybe more now, have said they would refuse to vote on any Senate bill that comes through until the SAVE Act. Because once a bill passes the Senate, it's got to go back to the House. It starts in the House, it's got to go to the Senate. It got to be approved by both bodies. House says we're not going to approve anything from the Senate until the SAVE Act's approved. 50 of them at last count. Could be more. Trump is applauding it. He says, I don't think we should make any deal with the crazy country destroying radical left Democrats unless and until they vote with Republicans to pass the Save America Act. The legislation is far more important than anything else we are doing in the Senate, which right now, last I read, 85% of the population agrees with voter ID, 85%. So it's a no-brainer. We don't get 85% of the country agreeing with anything, but they do on this. Still, 100% less Fetterman of the Democrats in power are doing all they can to block it and claiming they'll hold out. Chuck Schumer is going to hold out. Calls it Jim Crow, which is an insult to the people that suffered in Jim Crow type laws. Trump took aim at reported deal involving ICE funding, calling it a $5 billion cut in ICE funding. A deal which even when disguised as something else is unacceptable. And of course, he's talking about Democrats, put forth, suggestions on how to handle this shutdown and of course going to neuter ICE and give them rules they don't give police officers. No mask, have to wear your name on your uniform so that you can be doxxed, make your life even more dangerous. Unfortunately, Democrats are all for it. But he says it's unacceptable to me and the American people unless it includes the approval of voter ID with picture, citizenship to vote, no mail-in voting with exceptions, all paper ballots, no men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilation on our precious children. All those things are not really in the SAVE Act. Trump has wanted them as an amendment for all of it, but that, to my knowledge, hasn't happened yet. John Thune has been a disappointment. Although he's stepping it up a little bit, he's trying to show at least that he cares about it enough to do a little bit more. But he says he's going to identify Republicans. Trump has called on Senator John Thune to identify Republicans who oppose the measure. Let Leader Thune clearly identify those few Republicans that are voting against America. They will never be elected again. Well, one of them was Murkowski. She was just elected. I mean, I don't know if she's got 5 years left or something. He's pushing for aggressive action to break the stalemate. In other words, lump everything together as one and vote. Kill the filibuster, stay in D.C. for Easter if necessary. And I think they should stay in D.C. for Easter. I think they should. This is important enough to make sure that things get done. I mean, it's stalemating the whole country. Gavin Newsom was so mad at this SAVE Act that he passed a law in California making it illegal to show your driver's license, or illegal to ask for it, your voter ID or driver's license or something. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's just doing stupid just to be anti-Trump, thinking that that's going to propel him into stardom. I don't think it's working, but I'm not in his bubble. I don't hear what he's hearing, but I don't think that's working. But Newsom just recently did that. And good for him. I think it's making the Democrats look even worse. I think Newsom missed the memo. 85% of the people want it. And I'm sure California's got people in it. It's not all just people in his bubble. But he did it anyway. But here's the good news for California if you're in California. There's a voter referendum to make California submit a voter ID. Or it's on a voter referendum. Newsom can't stop it. That's going to be up to the voters. Yeah, they're a referendum state, just like state of Arizona, which I don't like referendum. If I could kill it in Arizona, I would. But the states that have referendum ability where the people can just vote, they change the Constitution in the state. It's not just a law that can be tweaked or pushed. It changes the Constitution. Yeah, it's tough. And any entity that's got a pet peeve or something that has enough money that can promote it can put a referendum on there to really cause trouble. And we've seen it happen. But in California, it may save California a little bit. But this voter ID may pass California, even, which may be a moot point if the feds pass it. It's a law in every state, at least for federal elections. They can't make the states do it for local elections, which means if you have a ballot that includes state and they'd have to separate it. They'd have to have one ballot strictly for federal, if that were the case, and then they'd have to have another ballot for local. Yeah, that could be done. But you'd have to check your ID on local in Texas if that passes, which would be interesting. That'd be tough to do. Okay, let me take a phone call. I think I have Carl. Carl, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How we doing?
We're doing well, sir. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. You know, my 2 cents for today is the more you talk about the Democrats, the bigger dumbasses they are getting to be.
It does seem weird, doesn't it? The more mistakes they make, the more they realize they're in a hole. They just keep digging.
Well, I'm going to break it right down to about as simple as a person can think. When you walk into a bank and you want to cash a check, you have to show ID to be able to cash that check.
Yep.
So what the hell is the difference between walking in and voting for who we want to run our country?
Well, the Democrats want the fraud in the voting, not at the grocery store.
But is that the way a lot of the American citizens are really thinking, that we want to go ahead and cheat the system?
No, that's why they got 85% of the people approving checking your ID. 85%, it's a loser for the Democrats. I mean, they got 15% in the bubble that are saying, no, we don't need no stinking ID.
Well, that really makes me feel good, because if 50% or more of the people want to have to show ID, our country is gone. We can kiss this baby goodbye.
Well, it'll be in chaos for sure.
A hell of a lot of, what we would turn into is we would turn into Iran real quick. Because the people who are living in Iran right now are really tired of their government running it, because now they have got so far. Hell, if you don't like what they're saying, they just shoot you.
Yeah, they're afraid of their government for good reasons. They'll kill you for protesting. Here, there's a lot of entitled people that want to go up and grab ICE officers, stand in front of cars, and think they can't touch me, they can't hurt me.
Oh, you're talking about Adelina Grajova, sir? That's what she did, and then she got pepper sprayed and then cried.
She lied about that. I don't think she ever did it. I think she was in the background. I don't think she did it.
Well, I don't really know, but when somebody stands up there, I got pepper sprayed, to me that tells me, well, what the hell was you doing there?
Well, she claims she got pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't. That would have made national news, man.
Yeah. Daniel Bateras was there. He didn't get pepper sprayed. Look at how many people were there.
That's how we know Adelita didn't either. He was watching her.
Yeah. And so this is what we put in to run our government. Is first thing she did was go down and protest ICE. We wanted the ICE to go in there and say, hey, if these people do not belong living in my house, throw them out.
Yeah. Well, we know she definitely protested. We know where she stands on that, for sure. But I don't think she was one that got up there and really got in the way of ICE.
And here's another thing that bothered me is I think it was Saturday, forgot the date. Mark Kelly and Diego had at a forum down on across from the park down on 3rd Street.
Here in Yuma?
Yes.
Oh, didn't know.
And what the way it was advertised that they were going to be here, and so this was, and they put it on. The Democrats put this on for the veterans to come in and talk to them and see if they could help them.
Okay.
Well, they had a room full of veterans, and the Democrats, we did have a flag standing in the corner, but they did not do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and that just floored me right there. An organization invited a room full of veterans to come in and tell them, how they can get help on the VA.
Yeah.
Hell, didn't even do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Were Kelly and Diego there?
Well, they said they were going to be there, but they did a Zoom. They did it off the screen. So
they were there electronically, not in person.
Yeah, and that's and in the ad, I didn't see the ad, but people told me, and that's the reason they went down there, is because they thought Mark Kelly was going to be there, and it was an all-day program.
Wow.
And so Mark Kelly, as being a veteran, didn't even take the time to come to Yuma and meet the veterans in Yuma. He sent them a little 5-minute zip on a thing. So, but one person that was there was Josh Stanwell. And I don't know if you know him or not, but Josh is the one that came into Yuma and helped President Trump get the VA benefits that the veterans want. He was there talking to people. So,
okay,
people who really want to work for help the veterans, they showed up to talk to us. So, people that wanted a photo shot like Kelly and Diego, they just sent us a picture.
Yeah. Wow.
And I thought that was, and my last thing before I let you go, the trolley is going to be at the fair next Tuesday, and it's the candidate corner. And so what we have is Daniel Pateras and our great Paul Gosar are going to be there Tuesday to talk to the people.
It's already fair time, right?
Yes. So they're going to, the fair I think opens Tuesday at 3:00, and I could be wrong on that. But when it opens up on Tuesday, that's the 31st of March, Paul Gosar and Daniel Pateris are going to be coming down at the trolley to talk to the people in Yuma.
Now, what
and
day?
ask
What day are they both coming? Are they both going to be there on Tuesday, or do you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
both of them on Tuesday.
All
Yeah,
right.
and then we're gonna have other candidates coming, and I'm going to be letting you know who's going to be out there because people need to come in and talk to our candidates. And another one we're going to have there quite a bit is Michelle Pena.
Yeah. Well,
She's really my most important. In fact, Michelle's kind of one of my sweethearts. How hard that woman works and how she got beat up for trying to do a good job.
she's
So,
easy to like. Yeah, she does a good job.
yeah, and does a good job.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my 2 cents for today, Russ.
Thank you, buddy. You take care.
And brother, another real quick, your heart's doing good. You got all that stuff squared away.
I think so. I think everything's good.
All right.
I got
I'm
tired
gonna
this
see.
weekend. Maybe that was connected. I don't know. It's time to
Yeah.
tell me to slow
Well,
down.
when we're gonna see you ride your bike by my house?
I'm going to put it off for a few weeks. They're telling me, my heart's still healing from that procedure.
Okay.
So
You don't need
I'll
it.
wait until it gets good and hot, and then I'll do it.
Yeah, you don't want to have a crash after a heart operation, do you?
I don't want to have one any day. But thanks, man.
I don't either. That's the reason I don't have a bicycle, Russ. I don't want to look forward to the crash.
That's right. Take
Yeah.
care.
Okay. Well,
All
see you
buddy.
later. Bye.
Bye. It's Mr. Carl. Yeah, I don't look forward to the crash either. No, I'm going to hold off for a little bit. I got a message from a listener about Trump. When his comments on Robert Mueller. Now, for those who may not know, Robert Mueller passed this last weekend. And the listener says, look, Trump said he was glad Robert Mueller died. It says Fox News never mentioned this. Gosh, I'm sure I heard it on Fox News, but maybe not. I don't know. CNN Business Trump said he was glad Robert Mueller died, which I think Trump put it on social media. So it wasn't something he just said on a hot mic. It was something he put out there. And I think his comment was, now he can't do harm to other people or something along those lines. Because Mueller raked Trump over the coals for no reason. Kept an investigation going on forever to put a cloud over him, and then came out after the investigation and said he did nothing wrong. After it cost him tons of time and tons of money to defend himself and all. And I think that was the whole Russia thing. The listener said this is an inappropriate comment by Trump. He should have been magnanimous. Just reinforces what half the electorate's opinion of Trump are: petty. Alternate the independent voters, and MAGA will be out. I'm sorry. It says alienate the independent voters. MAGA will be out. Seems polls are misrepresented by both sides. Americans do support voter ID, but not the Save America Act itself. Now, he's wrong on that. The voter ID is 85%. The Save America Act was 75. So they do support it. And that's according to the polls. 85 want voter ID. And when asked about the Save America Act, 75 said yes. 75%. Now, whether or not Trump was inappropriate, I don't know. You tell me. When I first heard it, I thought it was inappropriate. I'm like, glad he died. That doesn't sound right. I mean, I agree with this listener that said magnanimous would be the proper direction. Of course, I didn't spend years getting destroyed by a guy named Robert Mueller. And when Robert Mueller finally had to go testify to the findings, which was, I don't know, was that 3 years after the investigations, that there was nothing? They found nothing? Trump wasn't happy about any of that. I mean, I think I would have kept those comments to myself. I don't fault him for it. I wouldn't have recommended it. But Trump's Trump. And this guy did go after him with everything they had. Everything the federal government had. The Democrats didn't have to pay for that. That came out of the taxpayers' money to go after that. All this lawfare that goes after Trump, where it was all, and the FBI knew it was made up. The FBI knew it was a lie. Mueller knew it was a lie. He had to. So yeah, I'm not glad anybody dies. I'm not going to say that. I'm not. I'm going to try to understand Trump though. That he saw this guy doing a lot of negatives, and to him personally. So yes, he did say it. He put it out there on social media himself. He was not shy about it. And if anything else, you got to admire that about Trump. He's going to tell you what he feels. You don't have to guess. You don't have to run around thinking, I wonder what Trump thinks of that. You're gonna know. I wasn't going to do anything on the Robert Mueller. I kind of forgot about it, but I'm glad you did. Let me see. Pentagon, Edward Garrity, my fact checker, is sending me pictures of a big protest in the Pentagon, an Iran protest. It's one guy, but he's got two signs. I guess they don't want to protest the Pentagon. Well, he's got one sign that says 160 dead children at the school in Iran. And the other one's a little sideways. I can't really read it too much, but he's got two signs. Yeah, there have been some protests. And I wonder how much of it's paid for. But, part of that whole system of just do anything you can to cause disruptions within the administration. But it is kind of funny. One guy with two signs standing on the side of the road. You got every right to do that in this country, even if you're all by yourself. This is what happens when you host a protest and no one shows up. Yeah, right by the Pentagon. That's really nice. And we've had some, but there's so many people of Persian descent that are here in this country talking about the atrocities and the joy that Trump is going in there to help liberate a country, and that's through their viewpoint. People that live in the country, and particularly a lot of people that are here now that can safely talk about it, but people living in the country, I understand, protests are already going on. In fact, they just had protests before this broke out, and they murdered, I hear, up to 40,000 of their own people that protested. Okay, this just came on Truth Social, thanks to Sandy who sent it to me. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and the tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. As you know, Trump said a couple days ago that in 2 days, you got 48 hours, I'm going to bomb the infrastructure, meaning the power plants, which effectively would shut down their ability to do a lot of things. Like make rockets, make missiles, make stuff. You need electricity. Well, it also hurt the, civilian population's going to suffer because they're not going to have electricity. And the public reaction from Iran has been one of, we're going to knock out water plants. I got some stories on that, some of the direct quotes, knock out infrastructure all over. They can't reach the United States. Of course, that's part of the reason we're in right now, to make sure they can't in the future reach the United States, because this is kind of they're going to do the crazy stuff, and if they had nuclear weapons now, they would have used them. In most people's minds, that would have already happened, that they would have used them. The Dow has jumped 800 points and oil has fallen to $90 a barrel. Man, that's going to make a lot of Democrats mad. That's going to really upset Democrats that things are going the right direction. But just I'm assuming, and then this comes from Edward, but I'm assuming that's because of Trump's comments that he's halting all military actions right now, because they're having fruitful discussions. That doesn't mean the Strait of Hormuz is open. And the things I've been reading on the Strait of Hormuz this morning that's coming from Iran is not positive, and it's nothing like that. So, and we've heard for years that what they say publicly and what they say privately are two different things. I don't know who Trump's talking to and who's in charge really. Well, they would have that intelligence maybe, and maybe the people that are going on CNN or other news organizations are not in charge. No idea. This the fog of war still going on. Right now, Iran is threatening mass water war. Water war meaning that not just ships on the water. They don't have any. The Navy's gone, except for a few those fast boats, small ones. But all their naval ships are gone. The water war means distilled water, desalination plants. Yeah, they've got more people to sustain over there that need fresh water than what they have in fresh water that just comes, from rainfall or rivers. Desalination plants all over. I mean, Israel, Saudi Arabia, you name it, United Arab Emirates, uh, Qatar, they all have desalination plants. In fact, Israel has enough to where they take care of all their needs and they sell some water, which on a side note still just bugs me because why don't we have that technology here to get over this drought? We got California setting right on the ocean. We're not far from it, down into Mexico. And yet we're not using desalination like we should. We've got some, but we don't have the amount of desalination that we should. And we're still pumping water off of the Colorado River into LA. And LA sits on a beach. Well, the reason is the Colorado River's free other than the pumping charges. And they'd have to pay to have it desalinated. It's about the money. Okay, that's a side note. Now we'll get back to you. All right. Well, they're going to start blowing up desalination infrastructure. That's their threat. They're seriously 100% terrorist organization. The whole s- the whole country. That's their first go-to. We're just terrorists. We're gonna blow up and make everybody pay a price for because we're mad. Kevith and Mandani, he's a Iranian scientist and UN official. He said desalination plants across the region could be hit within the next few days. Um, and that would make uh, uh, a regional water crisis, and that would affect the global market. When you'd have millions of people over there with no water. Trump's warning that the U.S. would hit Iranian power infrastructure unless the Strait of Hormuz is open within 48 hours. Of course, he just paused that for 5 days, based on current negotiations and current talks that they've had. A spokesperson for Central Headquarters, Hazrat, uh, said that following previous warning, if Iran's fuel and energy infrastructure is attacked by the enemy, all energy, information technology, and desalination infrastructure belonging to the U.S. and the regime in this region will be targeted. And that's a reaction. Like, go ahead, Trump, and I will destroy the states around me, the countries around me. The desalination plants might be targeted again within the next few days, and that was according to Mandani, the official. Said the driest region in the world might see a real water war, but the knock-on effects on the world's economy, including the U.S., will be both immediate and lasting because they can't build them back overnight. Yeah, you can take them out, but I don't know how to transport that much water in. I don't know. They put up aircraft carriers over there, and I think they can desalinate some. I don't think it's going to be enough. And the amount of time it would take to build them back is, I don't know, but it's not that quick. Now, add the possibilities of damage to the already fragile water infrastructure, including treatment plants, pumping stations, distribution networks. The consequences would be catastrophic and lasting. The war's in its fourth week, expanded beyond military targets, uh, because Iran cannot take on our military. They can't. They don't have anything in their arsenal that's gonna do that. So they go after civilians. The terror thing. Let's take a phone call. Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Good to hear from you.
Good. All right. Here's the deal. Time passes and people forget. So when they think of Robert Mueller, I don't want them to just think of President Trump. I want them to think of the American people because we voted for him. And Mueller and his band of, I'm going to call them thugs, knowing full well that it was all a hoax, actually stole time from our guy who wanted to do great things.
Yes.
And then another thing I want to remind people of is there was either 250, I can't remember either, or 500 people that came in with President Trump. And a lot of these people were very excited to be part of his administration. And because of Robert Mueller, they had to go out and hire a lawyer, each of these people.
Yeah.
Now, a number of them weren't making much money. And so they were put through the ringer. They ended up having to pay money for a lawyer. They ended up deciding that they couldn't stay with the Trump administration because it was costing them too much. And we lost excited, happy, wanting to work really hard people. And I want to remind them of that because when you think about what President Trump said, he added that part about Mueller couldn't harm people anymore. He wasn't just talking about himself because he remembers these people and he remembers how it harmed what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I hope your listener can hear me and hears that message.
I'm glad you brought it up because it's a lot deeper than just going after Trump. And in years they were lining people up, anyone that was pro-Trump on that administration, just and raking them over the coals.
Well, remember what else they did? They came out and they told people publicly that anyone who wanted to work for President Trump or work with President Trump, they were going to punish.
Yeah.
So that kept good people from joining President Trump because it's not just Trump derangement syndrome. What we need to understand is the leftists and the Democrats truly do not want us to do well. And that's what the Russia collusion hoax was all about, to keep President Trump from doing well, because they could see all the people that were excited when he was running his first campaign and then, of course, even this last campaign. They saw these people and they were envious, they were jealous, they were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, people were excited about President Trump because he wanted to work for the American people. And that's exactly what you get with him. You get somebody who works very hard. So what they did is they went out and they decided we're going to, actually Hillary Clinton came up with it and it was written in that book. Those people wrote early on before the election was over that she was basically going to try to smear President Trump. Obama knew about it. He knew about it in the summer before 2016. And that's because Brennan told him.
Right.
So here you had a former president of the United States, Obama, who was okay with trying to destroy a man who actually wanted to do good. I want to remind people, too, that Obama came out and said, what has Trump got? A magic wand that he's going to be able to bring back people to manufacture in the country?
Huh.
Well, I guess Trump does, because that's what he's done.
I say that wand seems to be
And
working. Yes.
correct. So when people look at that and they go, oh my gosh, that's a horrible thing to say, actually, it's very honest. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen people say, oh, that's petty. No, it's very honest. And he's not just talking about himself. And I hope this will remind people, and they can go look it up and see if I'm telling them the truth, or at least get their little brains working back to like, oh yeah, she's right. And always think about this. We voted for him. It's just like the deal with ICE right now. We want illegals deported. The Democrats for 4 years, and never forget how awful things were with Biden. For 4 years, they opened the doors wide for any criminal, any illegal that wanted to walk into the country.
Yeah.
And ended up killing, and still are, our American citizens. And if you're the president of the United States of America, and if you're a congressman or a senator, your first priority should be the American citizen. This is not called the United States of Mexico or the United States of Somalia. We are the United States of America, and we should be the first priority of all these people. In the State of the Union, the Democrats made it very clear that they prefer illegals over American citizens.
They didn't
That's
stand.
why, Carl's talking about Kelly didn't show up.
Yeah.
Well, of course he didn't. He knew people would question him, and he would look bad because he's done bad things.
Yeah.
So anyway, President Trump is working his butt off. I like this idea of putting ICE in there because he wants to try to resolve the problem. The media needs to be more honest so people understand it's the Democrats that are causing all the problems. It's the Democrats that cause the disruption. And I sincerely hope more and more Americans turn away from the Democrat Party and to the Republican Party. Because they may not be perfect, but they're a whole lot better. And we know President Trump is a wonderful leader. So
He does
anyway, your
everything
turn.
he says. I agree with you. I appreciate the call.
No problem. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sandy.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, she reads a lot. I know she sends me a lot. I appreciate her. The Iran, and my fact checker, I was talking about Iran. He just sent me an article that claims that Tehran, the capital, has built an arsenal of 30,000 rockets that have ranges of 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers, which will hit a lot of Europe. Most of Europe could be hit. And of course, Saudi Arabia and all the others that at 2,000 kilometers would reach into India, China, Turkey. So if they have that many rockets, I would think we know where they are and could take them and destroy most of them, I would think, but maybe not. Maybe not. I know the military aircraft been flying like crazy from Israel and from us, and it was 1,000 bombings a day, and these are like the B-2s and B-52s, and they've been coming in, and if they know where they are, they're not safe, those rockets, and they should be taken out. But right now it's a ceasefire, it looks like, at least for 5 days. And we'll see if that ceasefire is held to. I mean, Iran's a big country in size. It's 2.5 times the size of Texas. If you've ever ridden across Texas and you think, boy, that took me a whole day to ride across Texas, you still wouldn't be across Iran. So hopefully they've got central control and can tell people to step down and stand down, because they probably have these these rockets dispersed throughout the country. Well, we'll see if Trump says there's a ceasefire. I'd be curious to see if there's any bombings today or any rockets today from the Iranians. To get that control. Let me see the as far as what Iran's promised to do and go after the infrastructure. He said the desalination, the process of creating drinkable water from seawater, is critical to supplying water across Israel and many of Iran's Gulf neighbors, particularly in such arid regions where natural water sources are scarce. Speaker for the Iranian parliament says, so high official, like the Speaker of our House or something, probably. Critical infrastructure, energy, and oil across the region will be irreversibly destroyed, and oil prices will rise for a long time if Iran's power plants are struck with a blackout. Water treatment and distribution systems will also collapse in some parts of the country. Iran will retaliate by attacking desalination, energy, and other energy-related infrastructure in all countries in the region. That's all of them. All regions that are parties to the war. I think they're all parties to the war, including Israel. The price of oil and gas will increase further, and the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed while humanitarian disaster is created as millions of people lose access to water and electricity in the region. The U.S. has allegedly already attacked a desalination plant in its Qusum Island, and the Iranians have allegedly responded by striking a plant in Bahrain. I don't know. I don't know where we stand right now. Hopefully, a stalemate where cooler heads prevail. But I don't think you can negotiate with Iran. Because I think for 47 years they've always got their way. They make enough threats, rattle a few sabers, and the West crumbles, including many U.S. presidents in the past have just, take the short, the easy path and say, okay, we won't do anything, knowing that Iran is continuing to get stronger, going to continue to build, weapons that we can't easily take care of. It's unfortunate. Oh, let me say, before I take a break, and I'm going to, one of my listeners points out, weren't they having fruitful discussions before the bombing started, meaning Iran? I don't think so. At least that's what I read about from Middle Eastern diplomats who were acting as go-betweens between the U.S. and Iran. And again, I said I don't think so. I don't have an inside loop on that. But I know that President Trump said that Iran was calling, but he wasn't interested in talking to him at one time. Maybe they weren't saying anything. He says, I hear it, but I don't buy it. Trump, honest, blind follower. I think he's been honest. I think he has. He's one of the few presidents that makes promises and then goes and does it. Versus all the presidents, all of them in the past have a big history of not even attempting to accomplish what they promise. And many on the left will laugh about it and say, well, that was the campaign. Now now we're in office. Yeah, they're like, there's a difference. There shouldn't be a difference. I'm going to take a break and I'll be back. It is the top of the hour. It's already 7:00. I want to make sure I got the right things up. Yeah, we'll be back. I want to say AM 560. It's not formerly AM 560, the Russ Clark Show at Mortgage One Studio. Russ Clark Show, right back with you here at Mortgage One Studio. I had to refresh the coffee, but I got it done. Dick Morris. I don't know if any of you remember Dick Morris. I kind of enjoyed Dick Morris, even though he was a Clinton kind of guy. He was a Clinton advisor. I don't know what happened. I think he does on a podcast something. I don't know what he's doing. He's out there occasionally. You'll see a little blurb about him. But he right now is criticizing New York Governor Kathy Hochul, which is easy to do, even though they're both Democrats. He points out some of the remarks it made just recently out of New York City, where they spend $81,000 per person on homeless services. Like $81,000 per person. Rather than just give the $81,000 to the homeless, there's a bureaucracy you got to feed that's supposed to make the homeless lives better. But at the end of the day, they're still homeless. And somebody spent $81,000 on them. They're not even aware, I'm sure. And they got a lot of scrutiny, a lot of stuff, which it just means that they're mismanaging it all. I mean, spend that much money on homeless, and homeless is not improving unless the numbers increasing is what you would call improving. Dick Morris is finding a lot of negatives to say. She's not using currency. She's using votes, meaning in her comments and stuff, and destroying the imagery. She's argued that the public spending decisions are being driven by political considerations rather than fiscal disciplines. The governor's approach is aimed at maintaining political support by expanding programs, even if taxpayers are resistant. And I don't think the left has a problem with that. They're not concerned about being popular, populist type movements like the voter thing. Voter ID is very popular. Democrats don't even bat an eye about saying, nah, we're not going to do it then. They have their own agenda, and us mere voters are too stupid to figure it out. At least that's the imagery that the Democrats are putting out there. I disagree, and I think that's why they're losing ground. Dick Morris says that Kathy's goal here is to try to get enough people to cough up enough money so that she can continue to spend it on programs that they don't want. And what he's talking about is a recent deal where she appeared on television and trying to get millionaires back into town. Yeah, we want to get them back in to these patriotic millionaires. They need to cut the check. She literally said, cut the check. And get them back in. Go down to Palm Springs and talk to your millionaire friends, get them to come back. Well, back in 22, just a couple of years ago, she was on TV just mocking people that were leaving. Mocking, says, we don't need you. Good riddance. Go to Palm Beach. We don't need you. We don't want you. Now, desperation and realization that they're destroying the state of New York, because they are leaving. And then you put a guy like Mandani in there as the mayor, and I'm sure it escalated things. And that's going to continue the escalation because Mandani's a gift that's not going to stop giving. They're going to keep giving until they just destroy that city. It's going to be rubble. Dick Morris says we're reaching a historic moment where the Democrat Party standing up and saying, in the middle of a war on terror against the chief terrorist country in the world, we're closing down Homeland Security. Policies affecting illegal immigrants. Democrats are prioritizing political considerations during an election cycle. Current messaging sends the wrong signal to both taxpayer and migrants. We're telling people, stay away, come home, and we'll tax you and put it up with a smile. And he called the recent decisions evidence of a deeper dysfunction. The Democrat Party has lost its collective mind, just absolutely lost. And if you ever wanted a display of the Democrats' inability to govern, That's it. Yeah, they're not looking good. Between Newsom, Hochul, Pritzker, and Tampon Tim, those 4 governors, just horrific what they're doing to their states. Very blue, very anti-Trump, very anti-police, anti-ICE, pro-illegal immigrant, pro-criminal immigrant, and pro-criminal in general. And they wonder why people are upset with them. And they wonder why California, I read articles that said California is turning red. No, I don't think they're turning red, but they've got an issue right now, an issue that they can't hold on to what they've got because of bad decisions and hurting the public. I mean, people are leaving there too, as far as people with wealth and businesses and all those kinds of things are leaving and hurting California. I don't hear Newsom begging for him back yet, like Hochul, but perhaps he should, or perhaps he should do something to keep some, like change some policies or something. But Newsom seems to double down when you defy him. I don't think he's gonna go to that level of Kathy. And in fact, if anything, he doubled down just on the Voting Act by passing a law that says you can't ask for a voter ID in the state of California. He's just making it a law versus a policy. They got the legislature to pass it. It's okay. A voter referendum's going to come through, and I would suspect that it's going to pass. But now Newsom's termed out. He is not running for governor. He's termed out. Now, California has been setting up the state to stay Democrat forever, setting it up to where only Democrats are on the ballot. And the way they did that is they changed the whole primary laws. The primary laws, like most states, the major parties put up their best candidate, which they used to do on their own. They used to just have their own conventions, and they would have a convention, and they would select a candidate that was going to be on the ballot. And that would be the only Republican was the one that the party selected, through some conventions and stuff. Well, that changed over the years, and most every state now just has a primary vote where Republicans, have a bunch of candidates run off against each other, and the Democrats run off against each other, and the Green Party and whatever party's on there. And those things over time now are being really tore up. There's that ranked choice voting thing that's just destroyed the voting up in Alaska, and they wanted to pass it here in Yuma, in the state of Arizona. Of course, it failed. Thank goodness. Because that was an attempt to get rid of those strong candidates. Yeah, because not the number ones don't always win in ranked choice. Yeah, and I'm not going to go into the whole explanation. Just keep in mind it's terrible. Well, California did something even weirder than ranked choice, I think, and that is they have primary, but it's a free-for-all primary. They're understanding that we're so strong pro-Democrat in this state that if we have a free-for-all primary, the top 2 contenders won't be Republican and Democrat; it'll be Democrat. Yeah, because we're so locked in, and this will take the Republicans off the ballot. We won't have to raise money from the party to go against the Republicans and stuff, because we'll just have Democrat, your first choice and second choice versus Republican versus Democrat. Well, that's not happening this year. Right now in the state of California, the 2 top leading vote getters, according to polls and stuff, of course, they haven't voted yet. It's coming up. Are both Republicans for governor. Both of them. They're beside themselves over there. The Democrats are looking like what went wrong. We've got 2 Republicans at the top of the ticket, not 2 Democrats. Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly how many are running. I think it's just 2 Republicans are running. So if you're a Republican, your choices are between 2. If you're a Democrat, apparently it's a huge field. many Democrats are running, which weakens each percentage point. So the two Republicans are at the top of the field. And that's their rules. That's California rules. Well, you want to bet they rewrite those things? They're not like it is right now. It looks like, and that's what the article I read meant that the state of California is turning red. No, they're very stuck on stupid right now. Their major cities and stuff are very blue, very communist, very socialist, very not getting anything done, very poorly managed. But they're not switching to Republican. They don't understand it. But there's a lot of California that's not a major city, and that's where you're going to find more conservatives and more of that. But right now, that governor is looking in danger of swinging to a Republican. I don't know how the good folks in San Francisco or L.A. are going to take that. Now they'll want to move out. They'll go join Rosie O'Donnell over in Ireland. Well, maybe not. Rosie moved back. Did you know that? She's apparently just for the summer. So obviously she has a place to live. And I think she's back in California. She has a place to live, but she brought her transgender child, came back. Yeah, every time she introduces the child, it's a transgender. Like it's a matter of pride or something. But she's back in the States after she swore she would never come back, swore she wouldn't do it. I don't think anybody believed her. And I wonder if that's because Ireland got tired of her and let her know that, or if she just missed California. She looks horrible, by the way. Someone that's that angry all the time can't help but just have a scowl on her face permanently. Musk has been in the news for more than just doing the TSA thing. You know, where he's wanting to pay for TSA agents so they don't go without a paycheck, which is awesome. SpaceX and Tesla, of course, are in the news. And this article I read has to do with both of them, but on something I guess I didn't know. He is building factories to produce chips. No, not corn chips, AI chips, AI, artificial intelligence. And he's put them in Austin. I'd heard rumors that people thought he had chips. I knew he didn't have chip factories. He hired people, and I think a lot of them came from Apple early on that were building new chips, designing chips. But then he would take them to a foundry and have them built. One of the big plants that makes chips like Samsung or TSMC and Micron that would just make the chips for him on his design. They would design them, and his engineers would design them, and then they would make them. Well, now he says he's going to build 2 facilities in Austin, Texas to make it, and one to power cars and humanoid robots, the other designed for artificial intelligence data centers in space, which is interesting. Now, he's buying all his chips currently from these other major manufacturers because he doesn't have his own facility. To build a facility to make chips is ungodly expensive. I think I read here he's going to spend SpaceX. Oh, the value of the company is $1.7 trillion. He's going to spend. I don't know what we spent on that. They spent it, not us, but TSMC in Phoenix area. Was it like 20 billion per building, and they're building another one, or 20 billion? They've got like 80 billion or 100 billion maybe by the time they're done to build these chip manufacturing facilities, and it takes forever. I've read before it takes like 10 years to build these things. A lot of it's in the ground. They can't have a trimmer. They can't have any shaking. There's a lot of YouTube specials out there online that explain the difficulties, the air quality, the water quality that they have to perfect, as well as the ground can't shake. So no trimmers. And so they build an infrastructure that's grounded somehow, and and gets through all that. So Musk is going to do that in Austin, Texas, and build two of them. He says SpaceX, which is preparing for a public listing that could value the company at 1.75 trillion, recently merged with Musk's social media and artificial intelligence firm XAI. Musk says we either build the terafab or we don't have the chips. That's what he's calling it, the terafab. And he said that during a presentation in Austin, he just did it this weekend. He says current global chip production would meet only a small fraction of the company's future needs. He has plans on expansion, and he says the current global chip production wouldn't even meet his needs. So he didn't give a timetable for the new projects. I don't even think they broke ground yet. And he has a track record of announcing highly ambitious projects. I think what they're saying there is, he makes claims like we'll get this thing in production in a year, and it may take 5, but they get them. He gets them. Musk said he was grateful to existing suppliers, Samsung, TSMC, Micron, but the demand from his companies would eventually exceed total global chip output. So he's thinking his company, but between the robots and Tesla and SpaceX, are going to be more than what the world makes right now, more than what they make. So I guess they don't have his vision, they don't have his understanding. So he's going to build his own. He said Terafab will eventually produce 1 terawatt of computing capacity a year, compared with half a terawatt currently generated across the United States. So right now, his one plant is going to build twice what the whole United States builds. And it says it doesn't specify whether that's just for Tesla or SpaceX. Maybe it's a combination. He said one chip will be used in the Tesla vehicles and Optimus humanoid robots, while the second would be designed for AI satellites in space. We need a high-powered chip designed for space that takes into account the harsher environment, and it would need to operate at higher temperatures. And I've heard it's speculated. I think it was Musk that speculated it, that it would be cheaper to put AI in space and transmit information back and forth rather than try to build the actual AI units to stay on Earth, because the amount of energy it takes to cool the things, I guess they get hot. Space is already cold, so you could just vent it maybe, or you start off with much cooler temperatures. So you're not starting off with 80-degree temperatures, like negative 200 temperature. You start off with and cool it. So they had, I think that idea came from Musk, or Musk had talked about it before, about having AI in space, and we just send the communications back and forth, like, what do you think about this? And then just get the answers back. You don't have to have the physical plant here, and it would be cheaper to put it in space. But it's got to be somebody up there working, I would think. Somebody's up there. Just like a space lab, though. They would be fine going back and forth. But apparently that's manageable. They could do that. I want to tell you about something the legislation's working on, and I don't think I agree with this one, but I'll tell you. I mean, it's a Republican thing, but there's a HB 4030 is something that Representative Justin Olson has come up with, and it's going to sound good. It's a proposed 4-year moratorium on tax and fee hikes. So be a moratorium. Can't raise your taxes, can't raise your fees. Well, there's a lot of people speaking out against it, and I would understand that. Now, it's going to be for cities and stuff like that. It'd be a state law. And he wants the cities to do belt tightening. And the whole thing is just to control the cities. Well, that's why we hire mayors and council to do that. We don't need our state legislature to do that. That's my initial feeling on it. I'd want to talk to Justin more about it, but I see some problems with it. And it would force the cities to tighten their budgets and live within their means. Now, I don't disagree with those concepts. I just think it's the wrong thing to do to make a law that says you can't raise taxes. There may be situations where it needs to happen. Cities would be able to tighten their budgets, and that would they'd only have to do it through June of 2030 because it would have a sunset, and it would only freeze on rate increases. Okay, and I don't think people pay. I don't know when the county changes rates. I guess they don't pay attention, but they tighten their budget and live within their means and all that stuff. And when you grow, you get more people, your rate would still be the same and you'd make more money. So there you go, just grow. His idea sounds appealing. And it's according to Nancy Smith, the mayor of city of Maricopa. But there's more to the story. Here's what they don't tell you. And I have to flip to page 6 to get what they tell me. All right. The efforts to dictate city policy. She said many cities lost a reliable stream of money when the legislature in 24 banned rental taxes. Last year, lawmakers froze local food taxes. Those moves were done in the spirit of affordability, which, I guess legislatures like to do that, but it's they've got their own budget. They're not freezing their stuff; they're freezing the cities. Which, work on your stuff. Of course, they're over the whole state and they do state policies. I mean, they can do that, but Smith worries about legislative mulling to roll back city property taxes at some point. She said they need to let the cities have local control. I think that's it. I think Smith's right. That's why we vote for mayors and council, for local control. I really don't want our state legislature to control it because the next state legislature may say you need to raise all your cities' taxes. They point out when it comes to water, we don't know what water is going to cost. And this is Renee Gullen, executive director of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. And there might be something to do that. And with the water going into this, 20th year drought or whatever it is, there may be some desalination or something, but this may not make it allowable. Harry Aarons, who's a part of the cities and town, he's one of the lobbyists. He says any limitation you want to put on a city that is trying to maintain and build its water infrastructure through taxation is something that you do not want to do. And some of these cities have tapped into that. Tucson, their city officials have, for 2 years, they froze water rates. 2 years. On the pandemic, this according to Laura Dent, the city's lobbyist. Now they're trying to catch up and maintenance because maintenance got behind. Yeah, they had less money, so they cut costs, and maintenance is not looking good. But now they're trying to catch up, but the freeze would complicate those efforts. They say it would stymie the city's effort to update its Central wastewater plant. And see, and Mayor Robin said it would cost about $20 million to upgrade the plant, the sewer plant, and the current fee structure for wastewater services won't cover the bill. If we had to live with the rates today, we'd have to take from our general fund to cover the operation and maintenance of the plant. Clarksdale, which I don't even know what that is, like other cities, already had to deal with higher costs for its water and wastewater systems. That includes a 1,426% increase in permit fees for the State Department of Environmental Quality That's according to the city budget. Yeah, so why don't you tell that organization to stop increasing their permit fees, Olson? And I don't think it's bad for Olson to think these things, trying to save money and all, but I think that's what we have local government for. The bottom line is we can't begin to comprehend how the legislature expects us to stay compliant with ever-changing regulatory requirements when everything around us is going up in cost. Yeah, and then they're freezing. There are also concerns about bond rating agencies would view the freeze. Utility bonds are backed by the fees paid by ratepayers. If the rate is frozen, that may lead to a downgrade in ratings. I think that's true. I didn't even think about that. But these cities want high ratings; they get better interest rates, meaning higher borrowing costs or even disinterest in issuing a bond. Some cities, such as Tucson, did some belt tightening in the recent years, and that's Gilbert City Council, drew a lot of attention when it hiked water rates 25% earlier this year. The council's vote also called for an additional 5% increase in 2028 and 2029, but those hikes came after 10 years of holding rates steady. Yeah, they got behind. They held them steady. The city should get some credit for holding the line, but at some point you gotta get back to business, and you got to catch up on maintenance. You got to get all that other stuff taken care of. So I think it's I understand it. I think he's got a good heart. Say we're going to save tax money, but he's not sitting in the city that's got to live with it, and that city government has got to live with it now, and that means cutting back on maintenance maybe or cutting other programs, which maybe that city doesn't want to do. And you should let the local voters have more say than thinking we're just going to micromanage our cities from Maricopa. We get enough stuff from Maricopa as it is. Don't micromanage my city. I don't think it's going to pass myself because I think the Democrats will fight it because it's a Republican idea. And I think there's enough Republicans out there that are going to say no. Taiwan. I want to talk about them for a minute, but as you know, China has been making threats that they're going to take over Taiwan. Of course, that would have to be done militarily. And they've been building the military for the last few years at record pace. I mean, they're really pouring money into military. And many people think that it's for taking possession of the China Sea, which is international waters, and they have been putting little islands out there and then claiming that it's not international waters anymore because I have a runway out in the middle of nowhere, and I claim all the water in so many miles around it, trying to block all traffic from the China, which that is a huge traffic that goes through the China Sea for all those other countries. They want to own it, so they've been trying to do that and building landing craft and stuff for a possible invasion of Taiwan because they want those chips over there. Yeah, Taiwan has a strong chip manufacturing program. So does China, but they're having to compete against Taiwan. So you might as well just take them over. Well, the Taiwan is going to get the deliveries of new F-16V. That's in Victor, 16 Victor, which is a new upgrade. I mean, the F-16 has been around for a long time, but they keep upgrading. A lot of that is software. A lot of that's just new ways to do things. I did not realize they already had some. I know this. I know. I read some articles and watched some specials on Taiwan and their ability to protect themselves if China decided to invade, and it didn't include a lot of fighters. In fact, it said they would be better off spending their money, landmines, drones, artillery, because invading Taiwan would be kind of tough. It's rocky. The seas are terrible. I mean, it's not smooth. It's not comfortable. It'd be hard to land the boats there. And And Taiwan could reach those boats with artillery and all kinds of stuff, missiles and artilleries, and not really need an F-16 to get there. But they already had some. I didn't realize they have 141 of F-16s right now, but they're the older ones. They're the F-16A/B jets, and they are now converting those to the V. And again, that's going to be advanced weaponry, advanced avionics, radar systems, better to go against some of the Chinese jets, which are more upgraded. So it's going to be the older F-16s that they're going to convert, and then they want to add 66 new F-16Vs. I didn't know they did that. To have 200 jets is pretty good. That's like, what does Israel have? 300? I mean, Israel's got a very powerful Air Force. A lot of that's because they're really good. I guess well trained. My son's always told me that. He's in the Air Force, and they've always raved about how well trained and how many flight hours these Israelis get, and that these guys can handle those aircraft much better than most any country, and they have more of them. They have more aircraft than Germany. They have more aircraft than Britain. Much bigger states, much bigger countries, huge populations, where Israel has, 15 million people? That's just like twice the size of New York. That'd be like New York having 150 F-16s of their own. That would be ridiculous. But that's what they've got. They've got that many in Israel. They've got over 300. Well, they're doing this, but they signed an agreement back in 2019. They approved $8 billion. The United States did, the sale of the Lockheed Martin F-16s, and the government has to approve those things before we start giving or selling war implementation to other countries. It's got to go through the United States, but it's going to take it up over 200 and make them a lot more lethal. The current ones plus these. So, yeah, they're gearing up for it. I mean, they feel a real threat from China. So they want to make themselves like I guess Israel. We may be a small country, but we can pack a powerful punch. And their biggest threat, which is China, is a lot closer. So you wouldn't need long range missiles or really aircraft to get there. But I guess the F-16s serve a role. They do. They serve a role. That's more than just offensive too. They take down a lot of drones, the F-16s also. And drones are a big deal. Oh, it looks like Mullen's moving forward. Well, the Department of Homeland Security has an opening. Kristi Noem resigned or was fired. It says Trump fired her on March 5th. I think she resigned. I mean, she's still there, but her last day is not here yet, and that's why they're fired's probably fair. Maybe Trump told her to resign, but she's still in good graces right now. It wasn't like they had to run her out of office. But Mullen is the one that was picked that's Mark Wayne Mullen out of Oklahoma. And he's got some notoriety about being a hothead at times. And he's a former MMA fighter. And he's now a senator. Tough guy. I've watched a few things. But he made it over a hurdle. He advanced towards the final confirmation after the Senate voted 54-37 to limit debate on the appointment. So according to this article, it's the confirmation vote could come sometime Monday, today. And he's expected, and it is expected to be approved right now. He would replace Kristi Noem, and I don't know if that's immediately or when Kristi Noem resigns. Actually leaves. I don't know. I don't think she's left yet. And it says the confirmation was all but assured on Thursday when the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee voted to send it to the full chamber despite opposition from the panel chairs, Senator Rand Paul. Now, Rand Paul hates this guy, and he's the chair of that committee. And yeah, you go back and watch the interview they had. It's kind of interesting. I mean, Rand Paul really doesn't like him, and made that known. And Mullen, I think it's mutual. Remember when Rand Paul got beat up by a neighbor mowing his lawn or something? A neighbor came in, and when I say beat up, seriously hurt him, like broken ribs and stuff. So this wasn't a slap to the face. This was a real pounding, and real medical problem for Senator Rand Paul. Well, Mullen said he deserved it. I think he could see why he deserved it. He could see that coming. No reason to make enemies unnecessarily, and that's what Mark Wayne did. So Rand Paul really laid it on thick during the interrogation, which you have to go through. If confirmed, and I didn't know this, but Mullen's a member of the Cherokee Nation. He'd be the second Native American to serve as a cabinet member. So that's not a lot. He'd only be the second one. Supreme Court's going to hear the argument on mail-in ballot deadlines. I hope this one goes well. The mail-in, I mean, the whole election process in my lifetime has become so ridiculously, complex, debated, so many features, so many rules that are mostly broken anyway. I mean, it's become horrible. Well, one of them is this mail-in ballot. The mail-in ballot, of course, is a relatively new addition, at least as far as having it being available to anybody. It starts off being well intended for armed forces people that can't come home. They're serving in places all over the world, and they can't be at the ballot box on the day of the election. So, of course, they made the mail-in for military an option for that. And of course, it expanded from there. Well, what about the guy that just doesn't want to go in? Can I just vote from home and have the mailman pick it up? Well, eventually we gave into that. Every state did it differently, a little bit differently. And as far as acceptance, I like the way, if you're going to have it, which it'd be nice to not have it. It'd be nice to just go back to, if you live in the United States, you're not in the military, you're not stationed overseas, then you have to go down on voting day and vote. I'd like to go back to that. And paper ballots, just go ahead and do it. And just do it. Of course, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I said, like the way Florida handles it. Florida handles the mail-in ballots that they give a deadline of when the ballot arrives in Florida to the voting booth, to the voting station, or the person that's collecting the ballots. It's got to be there. It doesn't have to be just mailed. It's got to be in hand by a certain date, and it's like a week before regular voting. A week. That gives you a whole week to get that sorted out, to get the signatures checked, to get everything, the validity of all those ballots checked. You got a whole week to get that done. You get all that stuff done, sorted, and put in the computer, and get ready for voting day. So the voting day happens for those that vote on the day. They're not going to turn in late, what we call late earlies, that say, oh, here's my late early, and just drop them off. No, they're going to have to come in and vote. So your late early is no good, so just come on in and vote. And they'd have to do that. They'd have to show ID and get in there and vote. I like way Florida does it, if you're going to have them, or just do away with them. But other states don't do that. Other states say whatever it's postmarked. So if voting day is Tuesday, and you get a postmark on Tuesday, you can still accept it for 5 working days in some states. 5 working days. Business days. Business days down Saturday and Sunday. So that's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, skip the other 2, Monday, Tuesday. So you have a whole week before that thing gets in there, before you cut it off. You say, okay, it's been a week and I'm going to cut it off. Well, that just gives too much time to play with numbers and to play with results and play with stuff. It's just too much time. It just opens up to fraud. There's no reason for it. Just have a cutoff date so that we're all done on the same day. Do the cutoff date, all done on the same day. And then all this trickle in is just leaving it open to just nonsense. Well, this has gone to court, to the Supreme Court, to hear arguments. They're hearing arguments today on it. And they say it's going to be closely watched. It's a case, Watson versus the Republican National Committee. It's on whether states may count mail-in ballots that are postmarked by Election Day but arrive days later. It's backed by President Donald Trump and allies thereof. And that he could initiate laws in at least 18 states and territories. Invalidate laws in 18 states and territories and potentially disqualify hundreds of thousands of ballots in upcoming elections. Well, that's kind of misleading. He won't disqualify anybody. You just change the rules and say, look, it no longer counts, so get them in time. Yeah, it would change that, but it wouldn't invalidate them unless they stick to old practices and mail it on the day of, knowing that it's not going to count. That would be your fault, not following the rules. Well, the heart of the debate started in Mississippi, and that's the law that allows 5 days, as well as Puerto Rico and Guam. The extended deadlines undermines election integrity and create opportunity for fraud. Critics say the legal push stems from longstanding and unproven claims about widespread voter fraud. They always use that. It's not widespread, so accept it. Well, no, it's spread just enough to make a difference. And those allegations made by Trump following the 2020 presidential election, and I think Trump had a reason to do that, and I think that reason's valid. And don't give me that he lost 52 or 62 cases. He didn't. He had no standing. That was what the judge said, no standing. In other words, you're not allowed to bring the case, so it's dismissed. I'm not going to look at the evidence. I'm not going to look at your numbers. I'm not going to look at the votes. I'm not going to look at anything. No standing, case dismissed. So those laws were never adjudicated. They were just dismissed. Well, if the guy that's losing the race doesn't have standing, then who does? Well, apparently nobody. None of those lawsuits were ever seen. And yet the left will push it that they lost those lawsuits. They didn't lose them. They were thrown out. No standing. But it's going to raise chain of custody security. Correct. Do you think I trust people in the post office? No, I do not. I mean, I imagine most of them are all great people, but it only takes a couple that are in charge to do something wrong. And we've seen that happen. We've got document of bad things happening at the post office. It could cause delays in verification, or the potential for tampering during transit, which is potential remains open. It's true. Others cite the possibility of individuals trying to submit ballots on behalf of others or improperly harvesting ballots. All true. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is saying the same thing. About some Republican candidates who led on election day later lost on mail-in ballots were counted, and it looks on its face to be fraudulent. Although Mike Johnson even says it's a tough thing to prove because there is no chain of custody. You can't track it or trace it. You don't know where it came from. And in 2024, about 725,000 ballots nationwide were postmarked by Election Day, but arrived within legally accepted windows. In some states, these late arriving ballots made up a small fraction of total votes, but could influence close races. It also raises concern about election administrations, as changing rules close to an election can create confusion for voters and strain election systems. And we saw that happen a lot during COVID, where everything got changed and people didn't check signatures and things happened that were unacceptable. The Supreme Court has previously cautioned against such disruptions through the Purcell principle, which discourages last-minute judicial changes to election procedures. Well, we'll see where it goes. Supreme Court's hearing it now. We're not finished with election problems because we've got tons of them. And the more opportunities we've given to voters to register on same day, don't use your ID, or have another person vouch for you that you're a resident versus having proof of residency, and they do that in Minnesota now. And one registered voter can bring 8 people and say, trust these guys. They're residents. I know them. So that testimony alone will get 8 people to vote, give them the opportunity to vote with no ID, no credentials, no proof of citizenship, no proof of residency or anything. Just Joe said they live here. Everybody trusts Joe because he's got a voter ID card. It's insane, but that's where we are. And that's already enacted. And Tampon Tim did that. Yeah, he signed that into law. So that just confuses the whole voter roll up in Minnesota. Hawaii is having some historic floods. That's not good. It's hard to imagine Hawaii flooding. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of these islands where they got mountains in the middle of them and they just seem to run down to the ocean. So where's it going to flood? Well, they must have some low-lying areas because it's happening. 2,000 people remain without power on Sunday, and they had the worst flooding they've had in 20 years, heavy downpours. So it's lifted homes, it's lifted cars. I can understand how a car floats, but a home floating, that's interesting and not good. Expected $1 billion in damages. There were some evacuation orders for 5,500 people in Honolulu. That was later lifted. They apparently dodged that bullet. 200 people were rescued from rising waters. No deaths have been reported as of yet. And that's according to Molly Pierce. She's a spokesperson for the Department of Emergency Management. Hawaiian Electric restored power to about 1,200 people in Waialua and the North Shore of Oahu, according to the company. So I guess that's a lot of people for them, but on Sunday afternoon, the weather shifted from widespread showers to scattered rain from Oahu, Maui County, to the Big Island. Less than 5 inches of rain is expected in the Big Island, with between 1 to 2 inches in other areas. Officials are concerned that a 120-year-old dam could fail. Well, that would not be good. So Hawaii's suffering some bad weather. Jeffries is lecturing Trump right now. That's Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat out of New York and the House Minority Leader. He looks frustrated lately. I mean, he looks mad a lot lately. He's not having a happy life right now. He made a comment. He said, now with the death in Iran, the greatest enemy of America is the radical left. This is President Donald J. Trump. I said, now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has left is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's Trump on a tweet or something like that. Well, Jeffries reacted to it. He said, Donald Trump should keep his reckless mouth shut before he gets somebody killed. That's great. Hakeem Jeffries, he's frustrated. He doesn't like it at all. He also spoke about the war in Iran. It's a reckless war of choice. They clearly didn't anticipate some of the things that have happened, including the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is ridiculous. Those military experts that sat down and went through the planning and went through everything on that, of course they did. So what you're seeing right now are gas prices high or through the roof. And I've got guests coming in. We'll get to them in a minute. And that's adding to the environment of America right now. Life has already become too expensive for the people because of failed policies by Donald Trump. Well, We'll have that leadership conversation when we actually have a piece of legislation that is in front of us. But I can tell you there's a strong opposition right now to the notion that this war of choice that is reckless. It's costing American people now more than $30 billion should continue. We need to move, which we plan on doing short order as war powers resolution so that we can bring this situation to a close. Of course, that's Hakeem Jeffries. Not a fan of our good president. Uh, Said he should shut his mouth. Well, good luck with that. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I'm going to take a break, and we'll have some guests in here shortly. They're from the government. They're here to help. We'll be right back. Russ Clark back with you, the Russ Clark Show, Mortgage One Studios, and we have two people from the government in our studio, which is they're here to help. Is that right, Mike? I mean, you know, George.
Of course.
It is. It's all good. It's all here to help. And Sonny's with me in studio.
True story.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And on the phone, I have JD from Maricopa County, so nothing can go wrong.
I'm actually with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality.
Yeah, we were going to get around to that, but it sounds better that you're just from the government.
Okay, no problem.
But it is Arizona Quality. And JD, what are we working on today?
Well, we're talking about the recycling grants that our agency awarded about $1 million in funding to do 16 projects around the state, and one of which is in Yuma County.
And that's for environmental quality. Is it? And I know the guys in here, we're going to talk about dumping. Is it include that? Does it also have that in mind?
So yeah, it's a recycling grant program, and with this project, as I'm sure they'll go into, they're trying to educate the public and their residents about where they can bring materials rather than dumping them illegally. So giving them the resources to know what they can do to keep those materials in our circular economy.
You know, and Sonny, I'm just always confused in in the county here in Yuma, we have free trash that we can drop off at transfer stations.
That's correct. We have one out there on Avenue 70 out by Laguna Dam. And so it's relatively close for most of the citizens in Yuma County. And
the price is free, and that's shocking. It's free. And don't tell JD, I don't think it's free all over the state, is it?
Well, it's not necessarily free for the regular citizens that are got some stuff laying around their property. They can pick it up and take it down to the transfer station. That's free. There are fees associated when it comes to people that have commercial businesses and they decide to dump there and use that facility.
Well, and I know tires, of course,
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, tires are a little bit of a different story.
And I don't know, JD, are you aware of what the fees are across the state?
They vary depending on each county and each transfer station. So I don't know them offhand, but yeah.
I just get frustrated. And I was a county supervisor for a while, and we would have that conversation occasionally because someone would bring up and say, we need to start charging citizens like a $5 fee or something to help pay for the cost of this. And we always end up saying no, because we don't want dumping out into the desert and stuff. Somehow some people would rather dump it in the desert than bring it in for free.
Yep, that's true. And unfortunately, we see it every day.
Yeah. Is that your job, Sonny, to go out and get it?
Not specifically, but when you're working in the county and you're out there and you're touring the outer parts of Yuma County, you see it more prevalent in areas that people don't normally have an eye on.
I have a 4-wheel drive, and I go out, and I'm just, it's sad to see refrigerators and couches out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, simply, Russ, it isn't nice, or at the end of the day, to have illegal dumping ongoing in our precious desert, which it costs taxpayer monies for cleanup purposes, taxpayer monies that could be allocated elsewhere for the benefit of the public. And as I just mentioned, and Sonny mentioned also, that the county has free transfer sites, right, where the public could go out and dispose.
You have it on the foothills now too, right? There's
a transfer site under construction currently
in
South County. Yes.
Okay.
Down by Avenue B in County 19, that is expected to be open by July 1st of this year.
So what is this grant going to pay for, George?
Well, this grant is going to help supplement the county's ongoing efforts with public education, involvement opportunities, and of course, including enforcement. But we are currently active in promoting illegal dumping prevention. We have the illegal dumping campaign ongoing, Yuma Strong Desert Clean, Desert Strong Yuma Clean, I'm sorry, which is up in throughout town in billboards. We have handouts. We're participating in local events such as the county fair. And again, all in effort, even including the transfer sites, just to raise awareness in the community that, illegal dumping is a crime, and there are options, legal options for authorized waste disposal.
Okay. JD, is that what you had in mind with these grants?
Yeah, I mean, this particular grant is centered around education. We have other grants that are infrastructure or research and development. But with this one, education's huge. I mean, a lot of people aren't aware of resources they have in their own communities, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of things we all need to know about, but don't quite know everything that's going on. So this is going to be a great campaign. They've already kicked it off with some great billboards and things like that that are really just addressing the issue and letting people know there are options for them.
So I haven't seen the billboard, so I'm not paying attention yet. But what kind of message are we going to give to people? It's just nicer if you don't do it. Is that the message?
I think that's part of it. I mean, it's also people need to understand that it's criminal.
Yeah, I was going to say
Based on what is dumped and how much is dumped. I mean, it could range anywhere from a misdemeanor where you may get a slap on the hand and all the fees that are associated with the cleanups that are associated with that job, or it could be up to a felony. And I mean, a felony is something where somebody could go to prison for.
So you should put Sheriff Wilmot on that banner. You know, get him acted, because they will arrest you.
We will, yes.
You will. Well, you got your
one
part
of
of
my
that
guys.
whole thing.
Yeah, one of my deputies would be out there to take care of that. Yeah,
but a lot of times, and I understand that at times when you collect some of this trash, it could be mail in it.
there is. Oftentimes there is.
So they're not, and you'll track them down
So
if you can.
yeah, if we can, our deputies will go down and they'll do the background and they'll figure out who that mail belonged to and they'll track them down. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's people that will reach out to somebody because they have a garage that needs cleaned out, or they're doing a renovation, and when they tear something down, they take all the stuff with them. These unlicensed companies, and then they'll take all that stuff.
So
and just
you're really finding companies that do this?
Absolutely.
I'd say that one shocks me. You would think they've got so much to lose.
I would say, when I say companies, I think it's unlicensed contractor, or
Okay.
people that are doing
small
contract work.
small
Yeah.
cleanup
Individual,
people.
yep, people that come out, hey, we'll clean up your yard, or we'll take away all your trash. And then their version of taking away the trash is taking it out into the desert and dropping it somewhere. And so when we do our backgrounds and we start looking into where this property came from, we usually track down the homeowners, and they're the ones who outline what happened and
They
stuff
say,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I say I hired George to do this for me.
correct.
And then along with that, Russ, it's very difficult as well. These offenders come prepared. They'll dispose of unauthorized waste
Mhm.
at night.
You mean like dangerous chemicals?
Well, that could be part, all inclusive of all this unwanted materials being disposed of in mainly public lands. However, they come prepared again. They do it at the middle of the night, on remote locations out in the desert. And then there's sometimes no paper trail behind, right? Really making these.
And sometimes
very
it's
difficult.
it's farmers' fields or
Absolutely is.
groves or something. Some citrus farms have had, surprise. We've got dumping.
Oh, correct. The community is concerned regarding illegal dumping, and it impacts. Illegal dumping negatively impacts public health and the environment. And as I mentioned earlier, it's an eyesore. Illegal dumping is a priority for Yuma County as we continue to perform our activities with education and involvement opportunities.
And the state, obviously, with JD on the phone, states actually come in and done some things.
Correct.
To help out.
In partnership, yes. ADEQ, Yuma County is very grateful to ADEQ for the consideration of the grant as they help supplement our ongoing illegal dumping efforts. And it goes to show the level of statewide efforts from ADEQ to assist local communities in tackling illegal dumping.
Yeah, JD, while I have you on the phone, what else does ADEQ other than help with the dumping? What are you guys up to?
Well, I mean, we have a bunch of different recycling grants. We're trying to do more around even like food waste, construction and demolition. You name it. There's a lot of materials out there that need to be addressed in Arizona. We're also working on a statewide solid waste and materials management plan. Just trying to get everyone involved and really recognizing how important it is to keep these materials in a circular economy rather than letting them get into the environment or just landfilled. I mean, there's value in a lot of this material.
Do you find, like Sonny mentioned that it's businesses that will do it, but a lot of them are the smaller off the not necessarily the guys that are with the Better Business Bureau that are doing this and stuff. Is that what you find? Is that there's companies that are the biggest culprit, or is it just individuals?
I mean, I think it's a mix of everything. I don't have exact data on what that looks like, but there's a lot of different people participating in illegal dumping, and our hope with this grant is to really be able to identify what works as far as education and really spread that out around the state, because everywhere's struggling with it. So
yeah. Well, I got Mike that just joined me. I mean, local public works. Don't you think we should put a bounty out there for people to catch the neighbor dumping and turn your neighbor in? Oh, wait a minute. I got to turn you out. Go ahead.
I definitely think there should be some
Closer. Everyone's got to get closer to the mic. I'm not.
Yeah, I definitely think there should be some consequences for people illegal dumping out in our
But-
counties. Yes.
But do citizens ever turn people in?
Absolutely. Out in the foothills specifically. That's
Because it
where
makes
I
me
work.
mad. If I'm out four-wheeling or out in the desert and I see somebody dumping, I would turn it in. I haven't seen it personally.
Yeah, no, we have quite a few citizens, especially out in the East County, that are willing to call in because they like going.
Those
out.
snowbirds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with those guys.
And Russell, along with earlier, we mentioned the billboards as part of this
Right.
awareness campaign. On the billboards, you'll also find the county's illegal dumping hotline number, which is 928-217-DUMP 3867. And so we do get calls such as the sheriff's office, citizens reporting illegal dumping, and staff will go out and follow up on those cases.
Hey, Mike, don't you think we should put cameras out there in the wilderness? Like those wildlife cameras.
I thought we had put some out there in the past. I mean,
Okay.
people find them, they take them down,
They
shoot
steal them.
They do.
And we've had cameras out at our transfer site stations, and yeah, they just take them down. They see 'em,
Really?
and,
Yeah.
they vandalize.
You need to just disguise them as something else, man. But maybe drones, Sonny.
Yeah, I mean, we use them when we have the ability to, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about these isolated areas in Yuma County that these people are going to. They're not out there because everyone else is out there. They're hiding, so they go out and they do it where no one's around, and when no one's around, and so we're left with a cleanup on that. And I mean, there's not necessarily bounties, but there are fees that are associated with it. So if we catch somebody, depending on how much that costs to clean up, like all that stuff plays into factor. So if you have somebody that goes out and drops a bunch of tires and we're able to track down who that person is, I mean, they have to pay restitution on the manpower that's used. They have to pay restitution on what it costs to dispose of that illegal dumping. So there are fees that the person gets charged with, but as far as coming forward, we just hope that the citizens will be more proactive with it. And
I would imagine tires are a bigger deal because you have to pay. I'm a business. I sell tires. I have to pay for every tire that goes in. Of course, we collect it from the person we sold the tire to.
Yeah.
I collect it and then take it in, and I keep record of it because I know you're going to come by sometime, Sonny, and take a look at my books or something. But it's pretty simple. But when I see tires out there, is that a stiffer charge or something?
yeah, there's fees associated with per tire, correct?
Yes, there are fees associated with tires, and the county's public works transfer sites. Mike can go ahead and speak to that regarding the rules for citizens disposing of.
Mike, you work at the
passenger
dump?
tires.
So I am the superintendent for the waste management division. So
Okay.
we have 4 transfer stations. And I'm sure you guys spoke upon that already.
little bit.
They're completely free, and we do allow our residents to bring 5 tires free per year to our transfer stations.
And that's a lot. I mean, not
It
everyone
is.
gets new tires every year. So,
Right.
and I don't know how people end up with tires, but that's a lot. If a citizen brings in 5, that should be pretty good.
Right.
But still, they dump them in the woods. or
Yeah,
woods or in
we
the
just
desert.
implemented new fees for our waste tire disposal costs.
saw.
So I mean that could be an issue too.
Yeah.
That people don't want to pay those fees. But there is a disposal cost for us to get those tires hauled out of our
But every
facility.
tire we sell, we charge that disposal fee up front.
There is a tax. Yes, there is a charge. Up
Yeah,
front, yes.
Up front, and then we cut the check to you for when we bring them in.
Right.
Which I want to talk to you guys about opening hours, man. You guys changed. It used to be open every day, and then it moved to Monday, Friday. Is that right?
No, actually, our North Heather transfer station was still open 7 days a week.
You're still 7 days a week.
Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe
from 7 to 2:30.
I'll have to talk to my guys. They lied to me, George.
So our East County transfer stations, Welton is open from
Even for tires.
no, for tires, we're open Mondays and Fridays only.
See, that's what I thought. Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, we used to be open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but
See,
after
I liked
COVID,
Wednesdays.
yeah, we went from Monday and Fridays only, and that's from 7 to 1:30.
Yeah, it was a shortened time, 7 to 1:30, twice a week.
Yes, sir.
So you're open about 9 hours a week. Man, you're really talking a small target for me to hit. We've adjusted. We've adapted. I don't know how crowded it is. There's a lot of people coming at that time, I imagine.
Oh yeah, we got the moms and pops, tire vendors, and then we got the big vendors coming out and just
I'm the moms and grandpops. That's what we are. That's what we're doing on that. But we'll bring 100 tires at a time, when we go in there. But that's become quite a fee anymore. I mean, again, we're charging the customers.
Right.
We had plenty of notice to do it.
right. Yeah, we changed some rules there too. So anything over 50 tires, you do have to have a weight
license.
ticket,
Yeah,
a weight ticket.
Yeah.
It's just for accountability purposes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. The this advertising program that's going on right now. You're seeing. You think you'll see a big hit in this? You think it'll make a difference?
Well, we hope so. We're just trying to bring awareness to the public. Yuma County, we got a real problem here. With the trash that's being thrown out in our deserts, side of the roads. A lot of it's in state land, federal land, and Yuma County's just trying to do their best to go out and clean these sites up.
And speaking of state land, Russ, I mentioned public involvement as well earlier. And this week specifically, we will have opportunities for public involvement. And we're going to have cleanup events on state lands, as Mike mentioned. We're partnering with state land. Yuma County will perform cleanup down by County 19 Avenue B, just a site that has a lot of household waste, appliances, and tires as well. And then over the weekend, there's also will be a cleanup opportunity adjacent property, which belongs to Cocoa Paw Tribe. So again, we are active. We're raising awareness in the community, providing education and public involvement opportunities. If the public is interested in becoming involved, they can contact the same number, the 217 dump number, and staff will get in contact with them with that opportunity.
I would assume that anytime you see a place that has waste already there, people feel like, well, it's okay to do it, and they're going to add to it.
Yep.
So you guys got to get it fast.
Correct. It starts as one load of unauthorized waste, and again, out of sight, out of mind, right? And these remote locations, and then eventually expands, and then it just starts to accumulate. And by the time we get out there, it's very difficult cases. Again, no paper trail behind. We can't find a responsible party, so we have to make efforts and partnerships with state land and federal partners as well to perform cleanup events.
We've got so many of these off-road clubs, these guys that go out there. You should go around and pass out your business cards.
They do. There's a lot of those off-road clubs that actually are pretty active in the community as far as putting together cleanups, especially out in the South County.
I'm thinking about turning in people.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately the best thing that can be done, especially when it comes to enforcement parts. Because if the sheriff's office receives information that can lead them to who our suspects are, we're going to take action in that manner so that we can get that stuff resolved and we can try to nip it in the bud as much as we can.
All right, JD, which is the dirtiest county? Which one has the worst problem?
I think they all have.
Come on, I'm thinking it's Maricopa.
It might be. I'm not sure, but we're just trying to clean them all up and get them, the way they should be. So
it's just unconscionable that we're doing it to ourselves. It's the people that enjoy the outdoors. I don't think they're dumping it. I think it's people that don't like, that don't go out there often. I don't think it's our hunters.
No, I think that's a good assessment, because the people that go out there, they want to go out there and have a safe, good time with their families and friends. They don't want to deal with all the trash. So why mess up your backyard?
Yeah. I've Sprague Sports, they do a lot of sponsoring of hunting events and stuff like that. And then at the end of the season, they do cleanup sponsors. They make sure to, and they tell people, don't, pick up your shotgun shells.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that. Just as a top of mind awareness stuff.
Yeah.
That we need to do it. On the ADEQ, what's your biggest problems right now, JD, other than dumping illegally? Are you also working with septic systems and stuff like that?
I don't directly,
Okay.
but we do have a program that is working on those things. For me, recycling in general, people, not just illegal dumping, but people just throw what we call contamination in the recycling bin. So things that shouldn't go in your recycling bin, they're just adding to the trash that goes in there, which, can increase costs and fees and all kinds of other stuff. So, it's just in general trying to educate people around all their waste options, including, putting the right things in the right places.
Our city's having a pickup right now, a neighborhood pickup where people can bring their own couches, broken TVs and everything to the curb. And the city goes around and picks that up. They do that quite regularly. You see those types of programs going on, which has got to help with the dumping illegally, because somebody would do that. And they pick up chemicals. They always have chemical drop-offs for unused paints or lacquer thinners or things that you need to dispose of. That's it's chemical. They have those periodically. I don't know if it's every 6 months or every year. Do you know? I mean, that's city. You guys don't worry about city.
The city does their neighborhood
Yeah, they
their
do.
spring cleanups every year,
I see the signs up now.
Right.
and then they do their HHW events every quarter.
JD, do most cities do that?
No, honestly, Yuma's a great example of a more rural area that does have household hazardous waste collection and electronics collection, but a lot of our rural communities don't have that option. So,
and a lot of that electronics collection, a lot of that's recycled, I would assume. I mean, there's a lot of precious metals even for somebody that's got the time to do it.
oh yeah, definitely. Electronics is a great one to collect, but unfortunately, it can be a little, electronics, household hazardous waste. That's a very expensive material to manage. So, a lot of communities just don't have the budget to do it.
Yeah. Of course, you can recycle a lot of car parts. I do that.
Well, and that's what I don't think people understand that. Like, you have a bunch of people that may have older broke down vehicles on their property and stuff like that, and they think, well, the only way I'm going to be able to get rid of this is if I go dump it somewhere, and that's not true.
Oh.
Honestly, if they were to call up numerous of the salvage companies, they'll come out and take those, and they'll actually pay. I mean, people can actually get paid for those vehicles.
Depending on what it is. Yeah,
absolutely.
We do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I have a repair facility, and sometimes we have to tell the owner, that car is worth less than what it's going to cost to fix it.
Right.
And they say, well, what do I do? And I said, well, let's call these guys, but I think you can get a couple $100 for it.
Absolutely.
And that way they don't go home and put it in the yard
or dump it in the desert and get a felony
we
charge.
We get whole vehicles out there. There's
Absolutely.
serial numbers all over those things.
No, absolutely.
They can find that.
Yeah.
That's real trouble.
And Russ, and we encourage citizens to get in contact with your local municipal providers for those neighborhood cleanup events, curbside collection. And although the county does not provide curbside collection services, we do have through Public Works a neighborhood cleanup program where county residents can get in contact with Public Works, and Public Works will be able to assist in providing a solid waste disposal fee and a bin, including other materials to help with their cleanup.
We do. So they can go on the Yuma County website on the solid waste website, and they can actually apply an application for their neighborhoods to have they offer neighborhood cleanups. We do one cleanup per district per year.
Well, JD, I appreciate all you do. Appreciate the call. And I know these guys do. I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to scream at these guys about something else for a minute.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys so much. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, JD. Take care. Bye-bye. Of course, I wanted to get him off the air before I scream at you, but no, I have no issues. But the city, and I don't know how much you guys know this, I just got questions. The city does solid, the waste one day a pickup, and then on the next day they'll pick up recycle only, in the blues. My understanding is that a lot of that stuff in the blue was not recycled. It ends up being trash because there's no there's no market for it. But I've been told recently that they don't do anything anymore with it other than just dump the whole thing. Do you guys have any insight on that?
I'm not too aware of what the city does. I know they pick up recyclable one day out of the week, which
They
is
do.
Wednesdays, and then they do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a city guy in here, but I understand that there's just not much in there anymore that's of value. When those things first started, there was a little demand for cardboard, a little demand for paper, and as more and more people have recycled, the demand is gone. I mean, they got more cardboard than they can possibly recycle or have a need to recycle. But
Yeah.
I want to get at some point I want to figure that out. But I know we've been in recycling for a dozen years. It's been a while since we've implemented that. But I don't even know if we're using it or what anymore. But, I mean, I'm sure they could take the tin cans. I mean, the beer cans.
Yeah, there's a lot of recycling that can be done. We just got to educate the public, let them know,
Yeah.
where to take the recyclables at. And we do some of the recycling there at our transfer stations. Our appliances, our metal, cardboard.
And that's right. And I've had people ask me. I had a new washing machine, and I said, I'll just take it in and get rid of it. I mean, I knew you guys hold a lot of that off to the side, and we'll take care of that. But I just took it to a recycler, and I said, and that was worth a couple bucks. I said, don't worry about it. I just want to make sure it doesn't go in the dump. I don't have time to stick around. I don't want it weighed. I'm not going to wait in line for one washing machine. I wasn't too worried about it, but I don't know that everyone's aware of that.
Yeah, we accept them at our transfer site stations. They're completely free. We recycle them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of recycling centers that may give you a couple dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's
Even
always a
for it,
return. There's always a
which
return.
that's a lot closer sometimes than driving out to your recycling center, or whatever. And you'll also do electronics, and you hold those aside,
We do.
and you don't let anybody jump in and take anything out of the dump.
No, there's no scavenging.
I see those signs out there.
There's no scavenging.
Say if you see something you like, don't touch it. Don't. Otherwise, you'd have a mess. You have people crawling through there like we do our dumpsters at work. So, when somebody comes in with stuff, do you direct them that some of this is recyclable?
We do. We have.
I know you always look at it.
Right. We have fact sheets that we give out to our residents, our customers that enter the transfer stations if they have any questions. But we do have certain disposing areas there at our transfer stations that they can dispose of that waste.
And so you'll say, look, throw this over there and throw that over there,
Yes.
and not into the refuge.
Correct.
And the rest of it, and they all cooperate
Yes.
generally. That's all pretty good. I haven't been there in a long time, but it was always good service. I mean, you guys it's always clean and always taken care of.
Yeah, the guys do a great job of keeping those sites up for the.
It is, and no one should be afraid to go in there. And I've gone into recycling centers or transfer stations that are indoors, kind of, with flow through. And we might have some here, but I know in Florida I had to go through some, and they smelled so bad, and you had to drive into them and then unload once you were inside. I like the open air better, and of course you remove it more often.
I do too.
You do too.
So we don't have a lot of waste that's standing.
No, you
sitting. Don't. So we place our waste in roll off containers. Once they're completely full, we haul them off to.
So nobody should be worried about that. It's fairly simple, and you just back up to one of the roll off containers. You throw it off, and you're not going to have a roll off container that's been sitting there for 2 weeks in the sun that's going to smell bad. They come and go quickly.
They do.
And it's all sanitary. You guys keep it clean out there.
I do appreciate that.
And then you have a place for even stuff that's where you're cutting. If you cut trees and lawn stuff, and you want to get rid of shrubberies, branches, all that, you take that. You put it in a compost pile or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a compost pile, and we have an incinerator that we actually burn that green waste.
Okay.
So that's recycled as well.
What do you do with Christmas trees?
We burn them as well.
You do?
Yes, we do.
I know the city collects them, but I'm assuming they had to take them to you.
The city does their own recycling for Christmas trees, and I'm not sure exactly what they.
I think they turn into mulch or something.
Yeah, that I know. In the past, they used to grind them and chip them down and use it for wildlife.
Yeah, I mean they have those big mulchers and chew them up. That's that's what they did with all the trees that died out there at the park the other day. Turned all our beautiful trees into mulch. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happened. Anything else we need to cover, Sonny? Do we have it all?
I think we're pretty good, sir.
Did we get it?
Yeah.
Get it, Mike? Well, George, Mike, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Russ.
what you do. And if you come up with a bounty, let me know. I'd be a bounty hunter. Yeah. I think there needs to be a price paid. I mean, some of these guys are hardcore. They're going to dump. And if they're not paying a price, have the sheriff knock on their door. They're not going to stop it on some of them. I mean, they have to be, because I see so much out there that's big stuff.
There are.
I mean, somebody has trucks and they're moving stuff out there, but hopefully we can get them found out and get a stop to it. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming in. I'll be right back. And this Russ Clark Show at Mortgage One Studio. Russ Clark Show, we're back. Yeah, and the guys from the county, I talked to them a little bit. And something I asked them, and I didn't get out on the air, but there's these groups that clean up the highway groups or neighborhood groups that get tired of the area around their neighborhood. And I used to live in Mesa del Sol, and out of Mesa del Sol, the local neighborhood got together to clean up the roads coming in and out of Mesa del Sol. And the county was very helpful, called the county and said, we want to do it. They'll bring out a roll off or whatever and guys to collect trash bags. And I think they donated the trash bags, even the county did, to get that stuff cleaned up, and highway cleanup and all that kind. So they're helpful, and they've got in their budgets and in their help. And maybe it comes from JD with the ADEQ that they help get some things to clean up local neighborhoods and clean it up so it doesn't end up in the desert. We don't need it out there. Okay, phone lines. Let me just double check that. The phone lines that they're back open. It's my cell phone. 928-941-0304. And okay. Oh, just a one of the listeners says, maybe some of our framers are right. Only landowners should vote, and that's the way the Constitution was originally. You had to be a landholder. Reminds of this quote, paraphrase from that era: "I am an aristocrat. I love freedom. I hate equality." I've never heard that quote. I love freedom. I hate equality. I like equality, not equity. That's a total different deal. The moon is extremely hot or cold, depending if you are in direct sunlight or in the shade. James Wood. No one deserves a beating. What percentage of voters are illegal aliens? I don't know. But if we have any illegal aliens voting, it's wrong. It shouldn't happen. And I think it happens because we encourage it with the motor voter registration, which automatically gets some of those in there, which they shouldn't get driver's license and stuff. I mean, there needs to be citizens that vote that make a difference, the ones that have, a stake in it. In the legitimate data, they've been on the 2,000 mules. I think the 2,000 mules was legitimate data. Honestly, it was. And okay, I got all those done. So phone lines are open 928-941-0304 if you have any questions. The for those that don't know, Mandani, who is the mayor of New York, is controversial and very much a socialist, very much a communist, a Marxist, and is not bashful about it now that he's elected. He's more open than ever. What some of you may not know, his wife, Rama, is much more radical than he is. He's pro-terrorist. He has terrorist sympathies, and more people are looking at some of her background because of some of the things she said currently. That is shocking. Pro-terrorist, pro-radical. She's a child of Assyrian migrants, which that's fine. And she posted a photo on September 23rd of 2017 of Palestine terrorist, caption that if anyone does good for my cause, I'll be happy to accept death. I would say it's very radical. She hailed a prominent member of the U.S. designated terrorist organization Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, who claimed in a 24 interview that the 7th of October was a must, was involved in plane hijackings in 1969 and 1970. She's praised the PFLP. I forget what that is. That's the Palestinian liberation stuff. Terrorist and that participated in the bombing of the Israeli bus and ultimately blew himself up in 1968. Building a bomb she apparently meant to use on an Israeli building. And in 2015, Mandani's wife shared a post. American soldiers fighting in imperialist wars are not brave, nor are they fighting for anyone's freedom. They are merciless, slaughtering third world civilians and fighting to maintain American hegemony. Just terrible. She did a Snapchat, she reportedly retweeted a post that stated that something in Snapchat has disappointed me. Blank Tel Aviv shouldn't exist in the first place. They're occupiers. You celebrate them. Scott Jennings, CNN pundit. I like Scott Jennings. He goes into that den of people that hate him every day and really holds his own. I mean, it doesn't sway him from his message. He's polite about it and straightforward. They highlighted on Wednesday the liberal media's kid glove treatment of Mandani's wife, which the media is not jumping on this like, well, wait, this lady is supporting terrorism and anti-Israel. Well, they're not. But Scott Jennings says, remember when the national media tried to impeach Justice Alito and impeach, throw him off his job because his wife hung up a George Washington's flag on their porch. Absolutely true story. She hung it up upside down. It's a stress call. The liberal media appears reluctant to indict Mandani for the foreign-focused radicalism of his 28-year-old wife. Yet they desperately attempted to paint Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito in recent years as ideologically compromised and capable of faithfully executing his judicial duties because of his wife, Martha Ann Alito, because she hosted an American flag. Apparently, she put it upside down. She said the American flag suspended upside down, allegedly displayed at Justice Alito's house in January 21. They suggested the bias of insights of so-called experts that the flag was in clear violation of ethics rules and could sow doubt about Justice Alito's impartiality in cases related to the election and Capitol riot. Justice Alito explained that the distress flag had nothing to do with J6 protests, as insinuated, but rather hoisted by his wife in response to alleged verbal abuse from a neighbor who had erected a F Trump sign within 50 feet of where children await school buses. But of course, the Democrats made the story that Justice Alito needs to recant himself, needs to leave the job, needs to be impeached for having his wife hoist a flag upside down because of a neighbor that had an F Trump sign that she thought was rude and upset, and it was and children were nearby in the neighborhood. Of course, Rolling Stone jumped in on the thing, as well as mainstream media. But yet, for Mandani, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that coming from the local press, or the mainstream press. Got a man charged with $90 million in fraud. I like all this fraud stuff that's coming forward. I mean, it makes me it's disgusting and it's sick. And it's wrenching that it's happening, but we need to know, and it needs to be exposed. It needs to be stopped, and people need to go to jail. This is $90 million at Medicare. It's a fraud scheme. And Anar Rustamov, a 38-year-old, he was indicted by a federal grand jury, charged with health care fraud for a scheme involving thousands of false claims for medical equipment that totaled up to more than $90 million. And that's according to a press release from the Northern District of California. He previously lived in Sunnyvale, California, and is a foreign national from Azerbaijan. They say he may have entered in the United States illegally. I don't know how that can't be just found out real quickly. May have entered illegally. Rustamov had a scheme where he submitted thousands of fraudulent claims to Medicare or Advantage organizations on behalf of unsuspected beneficiaries. In other words, he would submit claims using people's name that had no idea that the claims were being used. They were using their names. Didn't know. For medical equipment like blood glucose monitors and braces, orthopedic braces. Well, apparently, the people whose Medicare numbers or stuff were being used had no idea. They didn't need those monitors or stuff or the braces. The indictment alleges from October of 24 through June of 25, and just that amount of time, less than a year, he was able to amass $90 million in fraud. He used a company he created, the Dublin Helping Hand, sounds very Irish, to submit large volumes of claims to Medicare Advantage organization offering benefit plans. And then he sought reimbursement of $90 million, more than $90 million, for medical equipment that was not provided. No one got any medical equipment. It was not needed by patients. It was not approved by a medical provider. But apparently Medicare, the government, took the falsification and paid him in money. The listed patients were unaware that their information was used to submit the claims. How do people know this stuff works? I guess a lot of foreigners come in this country illegally. They know. Oh, and as far as the person that they're after, they can't find him, man. Or he's gone. He remains at large, according to federal officials. When the administration declared a war on fraud, it meant to target exactly this kind of conduct. Rustamov participated in a scheme to steal nearly 100 million. Now it's up to nearly 100. It's over 90 anyway. And taxpayer funds from a program intended to help those who truly needed medical care. And that's according to U.S. Attorney's Office, Northern District of Columbia. Anyone who believes they can make easy money by defrauding such programs should know that we will continue to work with our law enforcement partners to identify, investigate, and prosecute such fraud abuse. Sounds like they can't find him right now. I hope they do. That money's probably already back in Azerbaijan. Who knows if they'll get anything back on any of that. But it's sickening that stuff exists, and yet there's people out there trying to get their bills paid and getting turned down. Yeah, or got to pay a big copay or something, and here these guys are pocketing $90 million. That seems to be not hard to do if he can do that in less than a year and just take off, and they can't find him. So he knew when to get out of town, I guess. Absolutely amazing. Chili's is calling out Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I like it to see that they're going at it. Yeah, two different businesses going at. I don't think it's that serious. The article I was reading on this makes it sound serious. It's not. Well, Ruth's Chris has policies and dress codes. If you go to Ruth's Chris, it's more, you got to wear business attire. You can't go in flip-flops and a shirt that says F Trump. You can't do that. Ruth's Chris policy states that guests who do not meet the dress code may be asked to dine in the bar or lounge area, and that's getting them some criticism. People are criticizing that. Like, I want to wear my flip-flops, I guess. Guidelines also say hats should be removed upon entering. And those wearing ball caps directed to sit in the bar instead of the main dining room. The following attire is not permitted in our dining rooms: gym wear, pool attire, tank tops, clothing with offensive graphics or language, revealing clothing, or exposed undergarments. Is that right? Well, Ruth's Chris is owned by Darden Restaurants, which also operates Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, and the Capitol Grill. Well, Chili's, I guess, saw the articles in the disparaging about Ruth's Chris, like how evil they are. I get it. Ruth's Chris is, trying to get a certain type of restaurant, and it's got a dress code. And a lot of restaurants do. A lot of restaurants, if you go in, are going to have a dress code, and they'll remind you that they do, and they'll have you take your hat off. They're not the only ones, but somehow they're getting a lot of heat. So Chili's puts a response out there on X. Is they wrote, the only dress code at Chili's is that you have to be dressed. That's what the company wrote, which I think is kind of hilarious. I don't think it was roasting Ruth's Chris. I thought, look, they're different clientele, different restaurants for different reasons, and I think they're both fine. One user wrote, "I'd rather go to Chili's." Well, yeah, because you wear a ball cap and sandals. There's no harm in that. That's fine. But somebody else answered, it says Chili's is not fine dining, and that's the point. They're trying to create a certain atmosphere that attracts business clouds. Nothing wrong with that either. And you get to make a choice. Ruth's Chris should maintain a higher standard. Should be able to go have a nice date night with a significant other in a classier steakhouse with a proper ambiance. And I should be able to go hang out with the boys with some delicious food and ice cold beer in a rowdier, more comfortable environment. You got both. And if you want a steak, there's Texas Roadhouse. That actually, and I'm not doing advertisements for him, but my daughter worked there for years, and she still does. She does work at Precision Automotive with me. She does a lot. But on Wednesdays, she definitely works at Roadhouse and helps out on other days like that. They still like her engaged. But when I want to go get a steak, that's absolutely been my best. I've been around I've had some steaks here locally at some nice restaurants, and they just didn't live up to it. They weren't near as good. I didn't care. Now, Texas Roadhouse is more like a Chili's environment. It's a little rowdier, music's a little louder, and they're going to dance occasionally. That's okay. That's who they are, and they have a great clientele. I mean, the people like it when they go in there. It's festive. It's nice, and they're a good group in there. So I enjoy them. Going to Texas Roadhouse, ask for my daughter. She's not there that much anymore. She can't go in there that often. I want to talk about hotel buffets. Well, a lot of hotels, and I've been in a lot of hotels that have a free breakfast buffet. I mean, they're not great, but they're okay. They're good. Most of them, all good. It depends on the hotel, but they'll have an assortment of things. Start your day. Apparently, and this article is pointing out that there's a problem that these hotels have. These hospitality buffets are being raided by people that didn't stay at the hotel. I never thought about it. I know we have them in town. I don't know if it's happened to anybody in town. Kenneth Free, he's a Connecticut-based hospitality expert and president of Straight Line Hospitality. Because most complimentary breakfasts are in a smaller, limited service properties, they usually don't have the personnel resources to aggressively police whether breakfast patrons are truly guests at the hotel. Good point. A lot of them don't. You just go down and have them. And I've been in some that do. Some that you have to use your room key to get breakfast, and they run it through one of their machines to make sure it's an active room key. And then they let you in. That's rare. Most of them are just self-serve and you're on your own. But this says Hampton Inn, Holiday Inn Express, and residence where self-service buffets are often included with overnight stays. They might have the more opportunity that a non-guest might get in there and blend in without drawing. In most cases, the best hotel can do in these circumstances is to ask all staff members to be alert about suspicious activity, such as guests entering from the outside as opposed to coming from the in-house guest rooms or elevator bank. Breakfast shoplifters succeeded in pilfering breakfast. Additional financial pressure is applied to the hotel. Well, employees often unofficially confirm the scam. It's definitely a trend. Literally anyone can walk in, go upstairs, eat the breakfast they want. No one checks. And that's according to somebody on social media. Another one said, I hope everyone knows that this is equivalent to walking into a restaurant or gas station and helping yourself. That's theft. Well, there's a somebody put in here. They actually here's a clip that went viral on social media. She said, look, this was a woman that did it. They made it so easy to get the free hotel breakfast when you're not staying in a hotel. And then she shows a picture of her eggs and sausage and other buffet items in an unnamed location. She didn't mention the location. And a person on Reddit shared a hack that he uses. A couple years ago, This happened on Reddit. He said the trick is not to go for the upscale resorts. Common hotels with bland, generic breakfasts are a dime a dozen and super easy to walk into. I've literally jogged into them like I'm getting back from a morning run, eaten breakfast, and walked out. Rude and inappropriate. That's unfortunate. It does cost the hotels. And this article points out that the hotel has to, charge more, whatever. I don't think the people still in the breakfast care. And they need to balance things between making sure their guests don't feel like they're being interrogated. Which I don't think the guests would mind. I mean, I've stayed at hotels before where I have to show my card, my room key, and have them run it to make sure I'm really a guest. I'm okay with that. Keep the joggers out that are really just scamming. Not good. That's all I've got for today. Yeah, we're absolutely done. Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. Mortgage One Studios.